Welcome to the Challenge Chronicles. I'm Devin Jordan, and today we are here for a special episode. We're finally giving you the top 6 episode that we have promised for a very long time on the top male challenge competitors. We have a special guest. Rob, would you like to give him his introduction?
I think he's probably the best at giving his own introduction, but this is Logan Hedrich of the Hedrich Files Podcast, which has a weekly podcast on the challenge and a few other reality shows.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on. I'm super excited.
We're pumped, man.
Yeah.
We're ready to jump in on this and get your hot takes. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, I was just listening to the top 6 that you guys did of the females, and I can't help but feel like you guys are like far better challenge historians than I. And you guys definitely remember a lot of the details better than me. But you know, I had to go back. I had to find some hot takes in there, and I'm ready to go.
Oh, gosh. They both hate me for my hot take for who I picked as number 1, so that'll start another fight.
I don't think it's just the two of us who are disagreeing with you on that one, Trace. That is
I stay away from Twitter.
I tried to remember this earlier. So I couldn't remember if Paula was in your top 6 or if she was actually number 1.
She was number 1.
That was his number 1.
It's scorching hot. So did you have out of Laurel, Emily Strong?
Laurel was not on
Evelyn,
his list.
So Laurel wasn't even on the list.
Laurel was not on the list.
She was the honorable mention just outside the top 6.
Flaming hot take.
Christ.
I feel like
Taylor
this,
not like your top 6 linebackers either.
No, he's definitely in the top 6. That's easy. Now, the male competitors was actually much harder for me to get into a top 6 because I wrote down 14 names to start and had to start paring down the pluses and minuses. So with that said, Rob, set the rules for us so we can bitch about them.
Oh, fine. Give me 1 second here.
So I'll give Rob some time while he finds his notes. So for me, mine kind of like rule of thumb, it was if I couldn't think of you like immediately, you probably shouldn't be on my list. You know what I mean? Because like if you weren't like impactful enough in that way because of like how many great competitors there are from the male perspective, it just makes it really difficult to fit you in like a top 6.
Okay, so real quick, the overview of the rules. To what level people follow these rules is very much up for question. But so it was only male competitors who appeared between Inferno 2 and Final Reckoning. So no Turbo, unfortunately, no Dan Setzler, but that was just the parameters we had to set up when we put up the poll. The ranking should be based on if you're picking men to fill a team for the show. So like entertainment value and your political ability in individual seasons doesn't really factor in as much. And then also each competitor should be evaluated as its peak season. So while like a bigger sample size can help in terms of supporting how good a competitor actually was, if someone had a real bad season mixed in there, it shouldn't affect them that much.
So I completely ignored that. And this is the same way that I did it for the female competitors. The way that I did it is that if you put this person on a season, how likely are they to win the season, regardless of format and any other variable that you can kind of fit into play?
Lord.
I definitely went in a similar format in that my list at the top, at least, is very heavy in career achievements, but I did try to like mix in and figure in the like any given Sunday kind of mentality, like any given challenge, you want this person on your squad.
And see, that's kind of where I went. Like I looked at it from the standpoint of not just, I kind of took Devin's idea of their reputation, peak season, and, you know, overall, like, do I want them on my team? Like, that's really what it boils down to. So politics played like a small role.
Politics have to be in play. That's just like such
they are
in
in play in these requirements, but just like your own individual political ability is not in play, because individual political ability and team political ability are two very different things.
Yeah, and that is actually why 2 people did not make my top 6, is because politically I feel like they would sabotage my team.
And see, that's kind of why you kind of have to like find a way to encapsulate all of it, right? Because they're both skills. And if you're on someone's team that is good, like from a team political perspective, that benefits you. But there's also ways that in a team season, there's a political ability that doesn't necessarily benefit you as a teammate, but benefits them, right? So like any season that Johnny Bananas is on.
Yeah, the issue I had with the political ability for some of these, though, is just some of it seems so much just based on who they're casted with and who, like, the casting directors were feeling at that time. And then it's so hard to judge how they mix into a season nowadays, so we just don't know how they get along with all these people.
Right.
Yeah,
I have a big tangent to go on about that.
Yeah, that's where we get into, like, era adjustment, right? So, like, you have to kind of, like, judge them based off of the peers that they competed with, and, like, keep that in mind. Just because the type of people that they cast now, and we've mentioned this, like, dozens of times at this point, is completely different than the people that they casted before.
Indeed.
Yeah, so does anybody have some honorable or dishonorable mentions they want to throw out there?
I feel like we need
to hear
to cover
your other 8 honorable mentions that you had on that.
I feel like we need to get to honorable mentions as we get through the list, because I feel like it will take away the drama of the actual top 6.
That's fair. Can we do some dishonorable mentions then?
Big Easy, number 1.
Okay, see,
Really?
I have
Adam
a take
King.
there. No, Adam King's actually useful for your team.
No,
Even if
no.
yes, he is.
Fake.
Can I get a fucking Chet in there, please?
Chet is a decent
Dude, I
competitor.
forgot about that guy.
Nah, Chet's
Okay.
the worst.
Think about this way, though. Chet actually ran a really hard final, whereas Adam King's only final was not Inferno 3, Gauntlet 3.
Okay, there's a clear answer here. Nate Stodgill is the worst competitor ever on the challenge by a long shot. He did one mission and was one of the absolute worst mission performances I've ever seen, and then that was
Dude, I have to, like, look this guy up.
Wait, is it Nate from
Oh, yeah,
Houston,
this guy
or are you
from
the
San
one
Diego.
guy?
he was
From San Diego.
Yeah, he was on Battle of the X's 1, and he was paired with this chick Priscilla, and he was
He was the one who was
like,
drunk his whole Real World season.
Yeah, and then they had to, like, he was only in one mission, and it was when they had to, like, lather themselves up in, like, honey and then run across the little pillar, and it is like
He never made it across.
No, it's like AFV level bad. Like it's a disaster.
I think you mean MXC.
We need Japanese voiceovers immediately for that.
Yes, that would make the challenge incredible.
Japanese voiceover.
That actually would make like a great MTV, like instead of airing like things of ridiculousness, like create a show that is like a Japanese overdub of just stupid moments from the challenge and just have them making fun of all of it. That would be great.
If they're watching like the challenge in Japan, did they replace TJ's voice with some Japanese person?
Can you translate "you killed it" directly into their language?
I'd imagine so.
What I thought you were going to say is that they should have an MXC on MTV that they do with people from the challenge.
See, then you start just doing Ninja Warrior, though, at that point. Isn't
I
it?
genuinely hope someone from MTV is hearing this because these are golden ideas.
See, I hope they aren't. They hear some of it, and then they end up just hiring me to do everything. That would be
We should do a show where we come up with like our like top 6 ideas for the challenge. You know what I mean? Like that's
a wonky list. How am I supposed to pull people on that?
No, we don't pull people.
We just have our guests.
List. Yeah.
We talk.
Actually, as part of my research for this episode, I ended up randomly just coming up with 2 other top 6 lists. So anytime you guys are ready for them, let me know.
All right, let's hear it right now.
We're done. What are the other 2 options? I got to hear this.
All right, I got top 6 challenge hosts and top 6 opening songs.
Oh, we've talked about opening
yeah.
intros for a while.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time on that.
We actually in
Tool's
one of our
run away there.
episodes, we actually devoted 10 minutes in one of our episodes to talking about what's the criteria for a good challenge theme song.
Because half of them actually don't even have.
No,
themes.
half the like Vendettas, they just like popped up, and this season they just pop up.
There's 3 rules of thumb that they have to follow, right? It has to be cheesy, it has to have a theme, and what was the other one? I don't recall. This was so long ago.
It was like it has to be like the cheesiest pop punk song or something like that.
Cheesy theme. We'll have to go back and listen, but those are.
See, I don't think cheesy is a requirement. I think
it is.
No, it has to be just good for what it is.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of true because I do really enjoy the one from the island.
I knew it.
Oh,
and
Lord.
it's just good for
the
what it is.
is
And
so
it is
corny.
fire.
Island just missed the list on mine.
Did you for top 6 intros?
Yep.
Logan, welcome to the podcast.
Okay, can I drop the 6 on you real quick?
Yeah,
sure. Do it.
All right, number 6, Bloodline. Heavy techno, kind of dubsteppy. I'm into it. Okay. Number 5, Battle of the Seasons 2012, where everyone says their like team name.
Oh, that one actually is pretty good. And the music switches.
Yeah. Love it. Number 4, Cutthroat, kind of like a hipster rock, Killers-esque Euro song. I was feeling it. Number 3, Dirty 30. It has like the epic feel. TJ drops this is the dirtiest game of all time. Loved it.
That one's good too.
Number 2, The Ruins. It's like the jungle theme. I used it as the intro for my podcast for like 2 years. One of the greats.
Number 1 has to be Duel 2, right?
Number 1, Battle of the Sexes 2, Let Go by Midtown. Drop.
No, Duel 2 is, I actually don't mind the list, but Duel 2 is far and away number 1. Evan leading the Haka is just fantastic.
That might be my least favorite ever.
One of mine is Inferno 2, I think is incredible. The music is just unbelievably catchy.
That is true.
As we went through those episodes, I may have watched the intro every single time. And then Gauntlet 1, I think, is incredible too.
See, I haven't rewatched any of the Gauntlets because none of them are easily accessible online. So I've
you can watch
Traceman can hook you up. We'll talk about that offline.
All right, I'm into it.
What is I'm trying to remember it as we go through this. What's kind of like the tune to the one in Gauntlet 1? I know it's my
it's
one of my
like
favorites,
a
so I
country
remember,
type of thing.
I was about to say it's the country one, isn't it?
It's where Mosey shows up as the sheriff.
You want to be a rock star, right? It's like,
do you want to be a rock star?
Yeah, that one's fire.
Oh, I remember hating that song so
much.
much.
That was terrible. I skipped the intro of our podcast when we would start it.
You can only hear it so many times.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Yeah. All right, let's do this. Top 6.
Number 6. Who's going first?
Well, do you want to do the people first or the people?
Let's hear the people. Let's stick with the format.
Okay, we'll do number 6 for the people. So number 6 for the people. Do we get a drum roll or are we just running?
Just running.
Drum roll.
I'm too tired for that.
Okay, number 6, Derek Kaczynski from the people.
Whoa.
Fair. That's fair.
And there was a massive gap between 6 and 7, by the way.
Who was 7?
I don't think I should tell you who 7 is.
Because it's on your list, so we'll
it's
get
not
to
on my. No, it's not that it's on my list.
Honestly, it didn't even really occur to me in a serious way to put him in my top 6. No offense to him. I think he's a great competitor. I think it just speaks to how difficult it is to make it to the top.
See, he's on my list.
Whoa, okay. Really? Logan?
Yeah. So he was one of the guys. I did my list, and then after I went through 6, I was like, oh man, I have a lot of honorable mentions here, and Derek ended up being basically 7th, I think, for my list.
All right, so we can just talk about him when we get to him on Trace's list then.
Agreed. All right, Logan, you're our guest, so you get to go next. What's your number 6?
Wow. Okay, are you ready for a hot take?
Done.
Yeah.
Number 6, with 24 daily challenge wins, 3 for 3 in finals. 3 wins, 3 finals in just 4 seasons. I got Landon Lewick.
Way higher on my list.
Yeah, way higher on mine too. I think it's a hot take in the other direction. I feel like
that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. People consider him the greatest ever.
All right, let's hear the thought process.
Well, okay, so sorry, go ahead.
Well, we should wait until we get to him on our list, right?
No. Let him go. I want to hear why he's 6. This is perfect. I want to know why 6 because I had him higher too.
So I really was trying to find the balance between being really efficient in a few seasons versus racking up crazy accolades because, of the criteria of you want them at their peak season. So his peak season is obviously Fresh Meat 2, where he carried the worst winner in the history of the show to a win, right, with Carly. I don't think that's very controversial
I think Duel 2
statement.
he might actually be better. Even though he ends up losing, but it's just by random chance.
He was one fluky moment away from going 4 for 4.
He was unbelievable on Duel 2.
He won. Rob, how many challenges did he win in Duel 2? He won almost every single one of them.
Yeah,
it was a pretty competitive male cast.
Oh yeah, Evan was on that cast. Brad, Mark Long.
But then on Inferno 2, his first win, wasn't that a fairly easy season and an easy final?
No. Inferno 2, it was.
Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
Okay, compared to nowadays, definitely. Gauntlet 2 is the one that's real wonky. I don't even know if that should count as a win for him.
The double dunes.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. Right.
Yeah,
So that's kind of why I knock him down.
Yeah, he won that one, but I think you can't hold that one against him personally because that they had an actual harder final, but Storms kind of wrecked their set, which is why we got the crappy final we did.
Oh,
So,
okay. I'd never actually heard that before. That's
yeah, no, they actually had like a full-on, supposedly harder final. I don't know how much harder for that region, but his first win was Inferno 2, and when we saw the final for Inferno 2, we were actually rather surprised at. It wasn't like today, but it was still competitive compared to what they had done.
Well,
Yeah,
but it was just endurance based completely. Like there was one puzzle at the very end, and that was it.
Yeah, for the standard of that time, that was definitely a very difficult final mission.
And then more, checks in the pro category is he never really bent the knee to any dominant alliance. He always did his own thing in the challenges, which I really respected. I just think that the sample size is small, and he is sort of a little bit small in stature. So he has like been not physically dominated in some challenges, but he lost because of his size.
No, when did he lose because of his size?
Okay,
he was probably one of the most physically dominating people on the show.
See, I thought that too, and then I was randomly on either Pluto TV or Amazon Prime watching. Mm-hmm. Can't remember the season, but it's the challenge where there's like 2 ropes and everybody's hanging on between them. And
that's Duel 2. I love that mission. That's an awesome.
Okay,
mission.
And MJ ends up just like knocking him off, and I was genuinely surprised at how dominant MJ looked compared to Landon. Maybe that's the only time it's ever happened, but that was just something I watched recently.
I think the thing with him you could say is he didn't compete with like a diversity of competition, and he had only 2 seasons where it was just like an individual type season. The other 2s were teams, and I would say surrounding him, he had the better teams on both of those seasons. So it can be kind of hard to compare him to like just the formats now, and if you could handle being in that type of format and with those types of competitors. That's the only thing I could really say about it.
If you play the what if game on Landon, let's say he beats Brad in that elimination, and it's Mark Long, Evan, and Landon in that final.
Oh, he torches Evan and Mark Long in that final.
That's exactly what I think as well.
So do we say now where we have him on our list, or do we wait?
I think we hold that.
All right, because I think that's a good idea, because I think I know where all 3 of us have him. So
really,
yeah.
2 final notes real quick. He's got a 5-1 elimination record, and the biggest detriment on anyone's resume in challenge history, he partook in the Spring Break Challenge.
Oh. A lot of these people are going to have that
That's
unfortunate
true.
detriment.
Is true.
Yeah,
his biggest elimination win was against Kramu.
Oh,
do you remember that?
Sadly, yes.
I would say that's not his biggest elimination win. Hot take.
Evelyn and Luke, definitely against Evelyn and Luke for freshman team.
Yeah, that's a pretty incredible performance.
The fact that he got her to put those buckets on and push her up that hill in the dark really is astounding.
All right, who's next?
I guess I can go next. I'll throw another hot take out here. I have CT as number 6 on my list.
Whoa!
I don't think that's a hot take.
Out of your mind?
If I'm building a team, I'm not sure how much I want CT.
I'll say where I have CT. I have CT 5, so I don't think that's that crazy. I think that's like about right, because like CT, like at this point, like he's not what he used to be, and
I'm just evaluating him on a peak basis, even at a peak basis.
Even at his peak, right? Like, I mean, he was a liability in some senses.
Yeah, he just was because the thing is with CT, his peak and his emotional state are at an inverse correlation, where the more closer I get to his peak, the more crazier he's going to be for me to deal with on my team.
The argument that you would be able to make about that, though, is his true peak may have been in Rivals 2. Right, with Wes, because that's kind of when you get him at his equilibrium. Even though he was a little off kilter in that season, that's probably the closest that you get to a balanced out CT.
Yeah, that's what I would probably pick if I had to pick one. It's between that or Inferno 2, but Inferno 2, I don't know if I can handle that mess.
I could handle that mess if I was in his alliance. I mean, quite frankly, like if you go back to Inferno 1 where he looks at his quote unquote friend Leah and is like, yeah, you're going in because you suck. You know, like that. Right. That's fine. Go for it.
That was incredible. And we texted about this the other day, but I totally thought of that moment in the episode from 2 weeks ago in War of the Worlds 2 when Rogan asked him to approach D about being potentially
Rogan.
thrown into the elimination. He's like, yeah, I'll go do it. And he like walks up to D, sits down on the table, and he's like, so D, a bunch of us were thinking that we may throw you into elimination tonight. And she just loses her mind.
It really was a flashback moment. I was so happy when that happened.
We can hold CT because he's higher on some people's lists. So
Indeed, but I don't think that is a bad hot take. I think that's a legitimate gripe. I can see people putting him in the bottom end of their top 6. I can see it.
I'm going to just go ahead and stay quiet for a little bit and sit in the corner.
Logan's got some fire coming.
Luckily, CT does not have a very frequent Twitter account, so he can't flame me that hard if he gets mad.
Indeed. So I'm actually going to agree with the people here. Derek Kaczynski, number 6. And the reasoning behind it really comes down to the fact that I want Derek on my team. From a teammate perspective, you want that little pit bull on your side. Like, he is going to fight. He's going to give you everything he has in every challenge. I mean, he comes in as a mercenary and just basically takes money away from Josh because he likes to compete. Like, that's the kind of guy I want on my team. Politically, he's not going to make any waves. He's just going to do the job and win us some money. So if I am on the challenge, I want Derek Kaczynski on my team.
Okay.
I feel like the easygoing nature of his political game can be like twofold, though. Like, he sometimes just goes along to go along because he's in, the Johnny whatever alliance.
Sure.
But I mean, at some point, really in his career, he hasn't. But at some point, 99% of other challengers have to make some sort of dirty move to progress their game, and he doesn't really have that in him.
It's a dirty game.
Also, do you think he'd be able to trim around the team and sort of thin them down to the point where they actually need to be ready for a final, or do you think he'd just be willing to sort of I'll just go along with everybody else is doing?
The latter.
It depends on the era of Derek. Okay, if you're talking, if you go Gauntlet 2 vodka fueled Derek, he's gonna start dropping F-bombs and saying you need to go in and flip out and stuff like that. And he'd be right, probably. If you're talking Cutthroat Derek or Island Derek, where or Ruins, really. Ruins is like peak Derek is not involved in politics season for him.
Well, he probably should have been a little bit more in that season with the whole Beast incident.
Well, didn't he not have to go in the Ruins season? He didn't go into elimination at all, did he?
No, he, Evan, and Kenny never went into elimination.
Yeah. They let Johnny go do their dirty work, which was really interesting that amongst that 4, Johnny was the one that got thrown in against Dunbar. But we'll get to that when we talk about the Ruins one day.
One day.
See, real quick while we're still on Derek. So I kind of had this bigger point, but it definitely used Derek as an example. And that's about the not factoring in the entertainment factor or, the more general politics end of it. And that's because it's hard to, I guess this is actually kind of in the pro Derek category, because it's hard to, give him the detriment there because he hasn't gotten calls back, because at some point you're still creating a TV show. So you still need to appease the producers and the general audience. So you need to create storylines and be involved in the dramatic side of the show. It's like with Landon, maybe he was the one who made the final decision to never come back on the show. Maybe he didn't get calls later on, but it's Derek's whole thing on Challenge Mania, or Scott's whole thing for a year, was why the fuck isn't Derek K getting calls back to be on the show? He was amazing on Dirty 30, had that incredible elimination on Vendettas. So
he just doesn't expand their audience the way that they like to
do
now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it isn't really his fault.
Yeah.
Johnny and Wes do so much from a producer perspective. I don't think you can really ask other people to do that. It's asking your quarterback to be Lamar Jackson. It's just not. Some of them just don't have that ability. But then also this, it's not his fault he wasn't born in Britain or was cast on Survivor first. That's just more by circumstance.
I think the biggest travesty is he should have been Nelson's partner on Vendettas. Really,
that's a great point, but I love the Nelson Shane partnership.
It was good television, and I'm with it. And I think that Derek, if he and Nelson are teammates, I think they squash their beef quick enough because Derek's a businessman when he gets on the show with that kind of stuff now. So the storyline perspective of him and Shane was going to be better because Shane just is Shane.
Well, I don't know if it would have been better from a storyline perspective because on that season, there really weren't that many teams that had two people that were in different alliances, like naturally. Like Zach and Amanda were like the only team that was like that. And Derek would definitely trend more towards the veteran sides of the house while Nelson would go the other way. So that part of it, I think, would have been interesting at least.
Yeah, indeed.
But
so
my whole point is, like, name one memorable thing from Derek's Dirty 30 season other than getting into that fight with Nelson, which he didn't start, and being in the final.
See, I think it's with Dirty 30 as a whole. I actually like Dirty 30, but it is a really caustic season. Like, there's the moments you remember from Dirty 30 are not moments that would be considered like banner moments for the challenge.
Very true. Very true.
I would agree. I think the other moment that you could say is his elimination with Bananas because
Okay, good point.
They were in an alliance together. And truthfully, if you're a challenge hardcore fan, that is a dream elimination. You never thought you'd see Bananas versus Derek. So I think that that's a high point. But kind of like Rob said, that is one of those seasons where it's so good as a whole that when you try to pick out memorable moments, unfortunately, what gets most associated with that season is Camilla's racist breakdown.
And then go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to finish that right there of just saying, like, on the reunion, they spent more time talking about that incident and all of that than anything about really in the season. So that's what gets remembered.
They had a whole TV special that was released the next week about it. And then they weren't even going to like show it apparently. And then the cast convinced them that they had to show it just because of what happened. And then also the second most like memorable thing is the Jordan Jemmy fight, which was just pretty hard to watch. And then the third one is probably the Shane Simone thing where you didn't even see what happened, but turns out it was like a racial fight.
And then probably another memorable thing is just how much they botched the revealing of the winner.
Oh, what a disaster that was.
Vendettas was worse, but the Dirty 30 one was bad.
Yeah, the fact that Camilla wins, but because of that incident, she's not there.
Not even there.
It's so awkward. So as great as that season is, it's remembered more for its low points than it is its competitive high points.
Mm-hmm. And that's after they made us watch 2 reunion episodes only to find out who actually won the show.
Or just a hot take from Derek that like the people that won the show didn't even know they won until they watched it on TV. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and the thing is, with that one and with the Cara Maria one on Vendettas, it almost feels like they didn't win the show. Like, Jordan was so dominant on the final that it's a little bit different. But Cara, we didn't even see the part of the final where she won until the end of the reunion.
I agree.
Ugh.
Rob, aren't those, you brought this up, I think, the last time we did a podcast. Those are the producers that were just in place for 2 seasons, correct?
They were in place from Rivals 3 up until Final Reckoning, I believe.
Yeah, that's when Justin Booth came back, right?
Yeah, on World of the Worlds 1, which there's one part in World of the Worlds 1 that bothers me endlessly, but
it's kind of like how the one thing about the current season World of the Worlds 2, like there's one giant thing that bothers me because the season looks completely different if they fix it, but I don't want to get on too big of a tangent tonight on that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Devin.
My number 6, Wes Bergman.
He is higher on my list and higher on the people's list.
He's not on my list. He's honorable mention as well.
Wow. He is a little higher on my list.
Yeah, so for me, he had to be on my list. I think when you think of the challenge, he's one of like the handful of people that you immediately come to mind. He's like even though he's the 6th person on my list, if you're talking about people that are on the challenge Mount Rushmore, you could make an argument that he's one of the people that's there, just because how impactful he's been from a variety of different standpoints. The reason why he wasn't higher on my list is because of his, I guess, the ups and downs throughout his career. So out of the 12 seasons that he was on, guess how many finals he made?
He's been in 5 finals.
Yeah, it's 5, and he's only won 3 of them, right?
Or he's won 2.
Just 2.
Yeah. So he's only had 2 wins. He's been on 5 challenges.
5 finals, right?
But besides Cara, doesn't he have the most elimination wins?
Yeah, that's possible. But I mean, I think
he does have the most elimination wins.
That's a double-edged sword, right? So you're good enough to win eliminations, but at the same time, you're not good enough to avoid being in the eliminations to begin with. Because that's
I have a
discussed
bone to
last
pick
time.
with that a little bit, though, because I actually put him a little higher on my list because I think it's more impressive that he is constantly at the butt end of being either with shitty teammates, because he is consistently, besides Kenny, CT, and Teresa, has always had a bad teammate or been on a bad team, and has been the underdog to the Johnny, Evan, Kenny dominant alliance, and had to basically been forced to stay on the show by going and winning eliminations.
Yeah, like the thing is, like if you switch around Nehemiah and Danny's like presence on camera plus athleticism with that of like Kenny and Evan, then Wes basically has everything Johnny has it more.
Wait, say that again? If you switch around Nehemiah...
So basically,
It's not his fault. His friends suck at the challenge.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I was trying to say, too.
Yeah. See, I think you have to put an asterisk by the elimination record, but I think it's impressive. Like, we're watching Fresh Meat right now for the show, and that podcast will post right after we post this one. But watching that again and looking at the weight that goes in the backpacks that Wes and Casey were carrying versus other teams, the handicap is so large that basically they were spotted a 10-minute lead every single time they went into elimination and Fresh Meat won. So even as bad as Casey stunk, the fact that they didn't have nearly as much weight as anyone they ran against really just kind of goes, okay, yeah, it's impressive that he won, but, you know, let's even that weight out. Does he beat some of those people in Fresh Meat 1? We never know. We go by what's on the statistics. The statistics say he won, but there's always an asterisk there for me.
And just because we finished the first 4 episodes within the last couple of weeks, and it's immediate in my mind, politically he's like an absolute train wreck in those first 4 episodes.
I don't know how much you can put on him for that. He was in a pretty bad situation.
Are you? No, come on, Rob. The first night that they get on the show, he's like kicking people out of their rooms and like talking about how they should be in there instead of them. Like, how is that a good idea?
It's not saying it's good, but he also asked them.
It's awful. It's awful, Rob. No, he didn't ask them. He told them. And
he asked them, "Hey, would it be?" Hey,
that's the big difference.
Go back and rewatch the exact.
I will rewatch it. He goes, "Hey, we're having an intimacy problem. We want this room."
Yeah, exactly. Is it? Would it be better for both of us if like you guys?
Yeah, but who's gonna say no to that, Rob? Who's gonna say no to that?
Well, someone who got mad about it, like you did.
No, everyone's gonna say, yeah, go ahead, and that just puts an X immediately on his back.
I think there was an X on his back the moment those 4 of those people showed up.
Well, as soon as Austin showed up, they were going in because they were the new kids of the show, even though it was Fresh Meat.
I was looking back. I don't even know if it was anybody's second season besides them. Like all the other vets were third season or more.
And everyone else from Team Austin is complete hot garbage in the challenge. Yeah, so that's another reason I kind of like, you know, he had this really rough start from the beginning. Okay, what is his peak season, though? Because I've got it as Rivals 2 also.
That's an interesting question.
Okay, he has 2 peaks, though. 2 big peaks. Duel 1 and Rivals 2.
No, see, I don't think Rivals 2 is his peak. Why is Rivals 2 his peak? He got paired with CT.
Well, he got paired with CT, but it's not like CT had to drag Wes along like an anchor. Like, he was there, and he was ready to compete. He had the right political game because of the rules of the game. He was able to leverage so much because, like, CT wasn't doing the politics on that team, period.
Right.
Yeah, Rivals but the politics of that season were set up in a situation where it was pretty easy to just skate.
I mean, and you can even argue maybe Wes's peak political season was really Rivals 3 because until until the twist of the Redemption House was sprung on them, he was coasting to that final.
Do you mean X's 2?
Oh, X's 2. Sorry, not Rivals.
Yeah,
that was when he was paired with Nani. I'm sorry. No, X's 2 was Wes's political masterpiece until the production twist happened and it screwed his game over.
Yeah.
And I would make that same argument for War of the Worlds also, which I know we're not including here, but I just want to say, like, that's another check mark for him that, like, he has had all these incredible political mastermind of seasons, and he's done it in 3 different eras of the challenge, really.
Like, if you could give me the Wes from War of the Worlds 1, I would have him in my top 3. He's not in my top 3 currently, but he would be there if I could have the one from War of the Worlds 1.
It was an incredible season by him.
It was.
Based on my criteria, for me, of who do I want on my team, the reason Wes is not in my top 6 is because I can't trust him. That's
I think
really
you can
what it
trust him
boils
if
down
you
to.
put him in a
That's
power position. He was, and those teams that he sabotaged, he was never in a power position. Like if you put him down at the bottom rung, he's going to do what's the best for him. He's not going to do what's the best for your team. But he wasn't in that position on the ruins.
Yeah, but that's still him being on your team. You know
Sure,
what I mean?
but like if I'm putting Wes on my team, I'm giving him the keys.
Yeah, but you could be in a situation where Wes, when he's driving the car, isn't looking out for your best interest. So you have to.
Who is going to put their team?
But that's Rob. That to me is why that argument fails. Is because as Joss found out, you never ever put your game in somebody else's political dealings. If Joss had been playing his game
I think Joss got
instead of Polly's, if he had not been, if he had played his game instead of Polly's, he's still there.
We could have a whole podcast about that. That's another huge tangent. But I don't.
Number 5. Who's up?
The people will be up next for number 5, and they have Jordan Wisely at number 5.
Wow, I stand pat with the people.
He's higher on my list.
Higher on my list too.
So this is, you can kind of see the way my list is leaning. And then I've got the short and sweet challenge careers with, efficiency and a couple wins at the bottom. 2 wins, 3 finals, 4 seasons, if you're not counting this current season we're in right now. He's kind of basically been Wonder Boy since day one. He knows how to take a back seat when somebody else is, pushing the gas pedal, and that's X's 2 with Sarah, versus being in the driver's seat himself in Dirty 30. Completely, utterly dominant in eliminations. The only one he lost was purely his own hubris. And he's racked up wins in just a few seasons.
I can't fault the logic. He is literally one of the other people on the honorable mention list for me.
Oh, man, Trace is just.
I know. I thought I was not having hot takes. I thought I was going to have some moments, but nothing like this where everybody's like, really? He's not there either? No.
Yeah.
I can't fault anyone's logic, and I would not argue against anyone putting him in their top 6. I think if he had maybe another season or 2, I would be all in, and he would easily be in the top 6. It's just a lot of gaps for me.
Yeah, for me, he's higher. And I just went ahead and included the most recent season of War of the Worlds too. Some of the last couple of eliminations that we've seen as we speak are some of the most incredible things that I've ever seen. Like, I don't know how he beat Josh in that elimination.
I don't even understand the mechanics of that elimination, really.
You just pull the rope and it pulls the person on the other side.
No, but
so Paul actually broke it down a little bit on his most recent Challenge Mania interview in describing how Jordan did it, and he basically says that he created this pulley system on wrapping the rope around his arm and on his hip, creating an easy way for him to just kind of let the rope go through his hands.
And throw him off balance. Yeah,
exactly.
No, that's sharp. I mean, yeah, he has, what do you think? Josh probably has 40 pounds on him and
several
twice as
inches.
many hands. And a challenge that pretty much comes down to handed grip strength. He still found a way to win.
Yeah. I think the biggest detriment for him is he's just cocky as fuck and can be super combative at times.
Yeah, him being on your
unnecessarily
team can be a bit problematic.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm working with Jordan, I'm happy though. If he and I are in the same alliance, I'm happy because it's obvious Jordan's loyal if you're working with him.
Yeah, he probably has the worst political game out of anyone in the consensus top 6.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to really even care that much about politics. I actually think Landon's political game sometimes gets somewhat disrespected
diminished
unnecessarily. Yeah, because on Duel 2, he's in the dominant alliance for the entire season, and then on Fresh Meat 2, he's with Wes the first half of the season, and he pretty much knows exactly when to flip over to Kenny.
Okay. Number 5, who's up? Rob or Trace?
Logan, you're up next. Oh, you said Jordan.
He said Jordan in my 5 spot too. Yeah.
All right, my bad. My number 5, I had Weston Bergman at number 5.
Okay. Trace.
I can't argue. All right, I'm ready for the pitchforks right now.
Oh my God. Wait, let me guess.
Okay,
Anton.
Oh yeah, you got it. You caught me. Mark Long.
I don't think that's that bad. You can make.
He
an
was
argument for
originally
that.
in my top 6 until about the 3rd draft of it.
I would just not. If you don't talk about not trusting Wes, I would not trust Mark Long.
Why?
Because he's gonna make a deal with the other team and just throw the final.
I
That's
don't
the thing
think
with
that.
Mark is that he's got his inner circle and his crew, and if you're in it, you're gravy. If you're
You're
not,
in it,
there's
yeah.
no point of ever trying to bridge that gap.
See, and that's the point I make there, because if he is in my alliance and he is on my team and we're in,
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about Mark. And Mark is such a good. I mean, think about it this way. Mark was so good at the politics. He was on several seasons, made it to every final until his last one, which was Battle of the X's 1. And the rumor is that he and Johnny put on a good show before Mark took a dive, because he knew he and Robin would never win.
Exactly. That's why I don't want Mark Long. Like if
your partner was Robin and you were about to go run a final, wouldn't you just make a deal with Johnny?
But that's what I'm saying. If he's on my, like, let's say we put him on this season, he takes Zach's spot on the U.S. team. I would almost guarantee he'd basically just throw the final and then make a deal with the other team so he gets a larger cut of the money.
That's different though, because Mark Long at 48 may still be chiseled out of fucking stone, but what's his peak? Like 25 years ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was thinking if we're importing like Gauntlet 2 Mark Long into this season.
If we have Gauntlet 2 Mark in this season, that is a legitimate concern, but it also to me that's a hard nut to crack, because Mark Long probably would not have let Paulie get away with any of the crap he pulled. So that is one of those X factors.
You can say that, but what would he been able to like do?
Well, at that point, Bananas and Mark have the numbers. Like Paulie never even gets close to getting the numbers.
Well, what would he have done then? That would have stopped Paulie from getting the numbers.
First of all, Mark would have banged every chick in the house. He would have had everyone sitting around him during story time while they're cracking brews open, because he's got 1,500 stories to tell, and that's part of the reason why everyone always wanted to keep him around.
Yeah.
I don't think that matters that much anymore.
Oh no.
That's why they keep Kyle around.
Well, they didn't keep Kyle around this season.
True. Yeah. True.
Yeah. No, but I think Mark Long, if physically he can pretty much do everything in his peak, even in Duel 2, amazing political game, because again, at no point did he even sniff going into elimination. And if you didn't have the stupid final structure they did in Duel 2, how competitive is that, final? Because all the guys were basically at the bicycle unchaining at the same time. I mean, there's a whole bunch of X factors.
Yeah.
So you just don't know, because Brad started cramping up, which is why Evan caught him in the first place. But if Mark's not standing around waiting on Anissa, how different does that final look? So to me, there are always asterisks to this stuff. Like almost always in those earlier seasons, there's an asterisk somewhere.
Yeah, that's the thing though. We never saw him really run a final. Like I don't know how he'd hold up in a final with his body type.
You know what's incredible is, guess how old he was. So are we in agreement that his peak is Gauntlet 2?
By the parameters set up forth by this poll, then I would say definitely yes. His peak
I
is
would
Gauntlet
say
2.
yes. That is definitely his physical peak.
Or Battle of the Sexes too, because didn't he just bow out on that to let his team go?
Yeah, he just bowed out.
Yeah, they all split the money, and apparently it came out that on the recent Challenge Mania Live in Chicago that Mark sent Brad some cash too, as a hey, sorry man, but he did.
Oh, what a guy!
That's not surprising.
Yeah. Not
So
surprising.
Guess how old Mark Long was in Gauntlet 2?
34, right?
He was 34, I thought.
Holy
35.
shit, that is unbelievable.
34, 35, which is absolutely incredible.
He was the
But
oldest.
he's like 40 on Duel 2.
Yeah, and then he was like 43 when he did Sex's 1. So
X's 1, you mean?
So
X's 1. Sorry, yeah.
So is he 50 now?
Almost.
He's got to be like
He's
50.
48, so Battle of the X's ran in 2012, so yeah, he would have been like
41. Yeah.
I'm really hoping he shows up as like a mercenary on next season and just surprises everybody.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
He's been
apparently
trying to
he has
get
a
on
real
for
job
years.
now,
He's
so
been trying to get back.
He's not coming back now, he said, at the Challenge Mania thing. Apparently, he has a real job, and he can only be gone from work for a week. So if he does anything with the show, it'll be in a mercenary type role.
That's one where you can't like just cast him on like just for the novelty of it, and like Thomas Buell's spot and like the dead era of the challenge.
Who?
What does he do,
Yeah.
Trace?
I don't know that. Like in the recap of the Challenge Mania Live, it just said that he had a real job, and so he can't get more than a week off. That's all he said.
I'm sure it's entertainment industry adjacent or
Oh
something
yeah,
like
you know
that.
he's working for like a production company or something.
Yeah, I feel like that's just a cover. I think Mark Long can get away for a little bit if he needs to.
Man,
I
I've been
guess
trying to
that's
get him
the-
on my podcast for like 2+ years, and I just cannot get the commitment.
Man,
Yeah. I feel like if Buna Murray backed up the truck with enough money in it for show money, he'd do it. Because I mean, if they say, "Hey, we'll give you $100,000 to show up," I think he would do it. But at the same time, they're not going to back up $100,000 to get Mark Long on the show when they can cast other people and pay him 10.
I mean, honestly, I think it's more on MTV's end. They've tried to skew much younger and more international the last few years. That like the legacy spots have been really minuscule the last like 3 or 4 seasons, don't you think?
no,
Yeah,
definitely.
outside of Bananas, CT, and Wes, I think Brad and Shane were considered like the last of the
You're
legacy
right.
spots.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
Because-
Laurel kind of this season.
Yeah, well,
Lauren's
like Jordan
not a
was
legacy,
considered one.
though.
Yeah, well, like Jordan was considered one basically this season, and Jordan was like on Dirty 30.
Yeah, and Darrell on Dirty 30.
See, Dirty 30 to me was really kind of, I think, MTV's relenting of, okay, it's the 30th one. We'll do some legacy casting, but we're really going to start phasing out a lot of these people after that.
Right. You guys know that Coral was actually supposed to be on Dirty 30?
I remember that. Yeah.
And then she
What
dropped
happened?
last second.
She dropped at the last second, not getting paid enough, according to Jemmy.
Wow.
But
How
they
much
showed
she
up.
wanted.
There were like everyone was grabbing their gear, and Jemmy walks up to her booty shorts, and it's like, holy shit! There's Coral's shorts right there. It says her name.
Wow.
That's impressive.
I wonder how much they were paying her and how much she wanted.
Honestly, was she really worth all that much at that point, though?
I think just, dude, for my own like just novelty factor, like,
Just to
I
see
think
it one
was
more
pretty
time.
cool.
Yeah.
To see it one more time, yeah, but I don't see Coral bringing ratings points up on that season. I think the ratings
No.
would have been what they were regardless.
But for like the enjoyment of like the hardcore fans, it would have.
You have
Put
to.
it up there a
They
couple
don't care
notches.
that much about us.
I know they don't care, but I care about me.
Always,
Well, I
always care
can't
about
fault
it.
that logic. Awesome.
All right.
So that was my 5. So Mark Long.
Well, wait, can I make one final point on Coral? And I think it's just we all saw how, and I really hate saying this because I feel like such an asshole, but I feel like it's true, that we saw how Veronica performed on, what was it, Dirty 30 and
On any of the
Vendettas.
three.
It was bad.
Yeah, and it's like I kind of don't want Coral back to taint the image I have of her just being this incredible competitor, the fucking sassiest, best talker in challenge history. Like I really just didn't want them to break that image in my head.
I didn't think Veronica was that bad on Dirty 30. She was really bad on the next two, but on Dirty 30, like she beats like Anissa in elimination. She's not like an abject disaster.
True. Yeah, you're right about that. I forgot about that, LM.
She's not like Siobhan.
Okay. I had CT at number 5.
Oh.
Okay, he's higher on the people's list.
Okay. We already talked about CT too, didn't we?
We'll give a full-fledged CT breakdown when we get to the people.
All right. Number 4. Who do the people have?
They have Weston Bergman.
Wow, I am in lockstep. I got Wes at number 4 also.
Somebody replaced me as the beacon of the people on the podcast.
I'm the voice of the voiceless. Just call me CM
Oh,
Punk.
I like it.
This is more of a consensus than I thought we would have.
I think our consensus might get broken up here a little bit. But yeah, I think like again with Wes, like if I could have Wes from World of the Worlds 1, I'd probably have him like number 3. But I can't pick him based on the criteria that I followed to the T.
Okay, who's better, War of the Worlds 1, Wes, or roided up, heavy on the juice, Wes?
That's the thing with Wes and CT are the two that sticks out the most to me. Just picking out their best season is so hard, and it's so different based on which one you pick out.
Yeah.
Because like
If
Rivals West is so different from Duel West, is so different from like X's 2 West.
Fresh meat when he first showed up on the show and everyone despised him.
Yeah, with the Mohawk.
Ugh, that has been painful to watch on Fresh Meat. That dude, truthfully, Wes, if you were to, here's a hot take for you. Wes, arguably, depending on the season, has the worst hairstyle every time.
Oh, that's a take.
Dating
Like,
back to his Real World season.
God, if you watch Real World Austin, I don't know what that redheaded kid was thinking, but that just made him look even more redheaded. It was awful.
But I think he has embraced the redheaded thing, though.
Yeah, I'm not joking. I'm just because a lot of people like to make fun of redheads. So no offense to any redheads out there. I have several in my family, love them to death. But I was just joking because like that awful hairstyle in Real World Austin is so terrible. Like he has bangs. He has bangs.
I mean, he still pulled Johanna with that hairstyle. So if I can have that hairstyle and have Johanna.
Well, if he pulled, I didn't think about it that way. If he was able to pull Johanna with that hairstyle, his political game is way better than I thought.
Yeah, remember they had like the phone number drawer of all the groupies?
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Legendary.
Oh, what a great season. Man, I'm so glad that's on Facebook Watch if people want to see it. It's up for free on Facebook Watch. Go watch Real World Austin if you've never seen it.
The first
highest
couple
rated
episodes,
season ever.
Is it higher rated than Vegas 1? Because that's crazy.
Yes. Real World Austin is the highest rated Real World season they ever had. That was like peak reality show. Like it became mainstream.
The first couple episodes are really tough to watch though, because that's when Danny's mom dies and he gets his face broken. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, the craziest thing about Real World Austin is that the producers thought Danny was going to be like the star of the challenge coming out of it and not Wes.
I mean that he isn't?
What a fucking bust.
If you ask Danny, I think he would beg to differ.
Did you guys recently or on one of your previous podcasts say he was like the Ryan Leaf of the challenge?
Yes, we did.
I love it. That's perfect.
Danny's like J.R. Smith. He like even when J.R. Smith was with the Cavs while LeBron was on the team, J.R. Smith still thought he was the best player on the team.
Actually, I think we've even got a better one. Chad Ochocinco. He is the Chad.
No, but Chad was actually good. Like
no, Ochocinco's borderline Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
really? You really think so?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's pretty good in his day.
Even if you don't think he's borderline Hall of Fame, he's still a quality receiver. I think he's like Deion Waiters, who nicknamed himself Kobe Wade because that's what he thought his abilities were.
All right, I'll give you that. So compare it to Danny though, and I'll still stand by my analogy because dang it, I die on these hills every time, even if I'm wrong. If you take Danny's just entertainment factor, he is really high on the list just from an entertainment factor.
Really? I don't find him that entertaining.
The stupid things he says crack me up. It's kind of like I hate Nelson, but when he said needy greedy on that one episode,
I'm all in on Nelson.
I about peed myself laughing. Like
we're living in the 2018th century, people.
Nelson, entertainment factor is so high.
Saying Danny has a super high entertainment factor is not a real like low rent take there.
Random trivia for this. If I put the over under at 6 seasons for the amount of seasons with over 100 catches for Chad Johnson, would you take the over or the under?
100? I'd say over.
I would say over because he was on the Bengals when the Red Rifle would just fling it in the air all the time.
The original Red Rifle?
Roberto?
I would go over.
He had 0 seasons with over 100 catches.
Wow.
Dang.
Crazy, right?
I think we forget like the environment difference between then and here.
I would agree.
He must have had a ton plus 80 or plus 90 though, right?
Yeah, he had a bunch like kind of like in that mid range. Like I think he had 1, 2, 3. He had like 4 seasons with 90 catches, like somewhere in that range.
Dude, Danny is the fucking Jamarcus Russell of the challenge. Just
okay,
all hype,
you know what?
Pure garbage.
Logan, comment of the day right there. Okay, so have you guys heard how he got arrested in Mobile down here when he was in the NFL?
This podcast has more tangents than my calculus class.
Let's hear it.
That's fair. So this is how Jamarcus Jam Russell got arrested in Mobile, Alabama. He was in the Mobile, Alabama mall, which, trust me, it is as awful as it sounds. I'm trying to think of a good analogy here.
Is that a college town?
Kind of. It's a port on the Gulf of Mexico. It is old money and dirt poor people is the best way I can put it. And then there's tourists to the west at Orange Beach. So he was in the mall with his friends, and he had a Desert Eagle in his pants, and he was carrying around a scissor.
So he's getting faded at the mall while strapped.
Yes.
Yeah, podcast got dark.
So
I was not expecting that one. All right.
Number 4.
Number 4 for Logan.
I Wes
people.
also. I've been in lockstep, man.
Wow.
Oh wait, who did the people have? Wes? Is that what it was?
They had Wes.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
Logan.
so we're on my number 4.
Or Wes.
Correct.
All right. Number 4, I had Evan at number 4.
I love it. Even though he wasn't even in my top 6, I love it.
Really?
Rob and I have a rare moment of agreement. Evan is my number.
That is a shocker.
I really, really considered him for my top 6. And then I started looking at the stats, and I started looking at how he performed. And he has a pretty great challenge career. I just can't help but feel he was second fiddle to Johnny Evan Kenny. Like the hierarchy back then.
I think he was the brains behind that whole operation.
He was definitely the brains there.
Probably, but in terms of performing in challenges and eliminations, I think someone else was better, and I'll just leave it at that for now.
Oh.
See, I think he was the best of that group by leaps and bounds.
I had a hard time leaving him out of the top 6, though, that's for sure.
Yeah, I just didn't know where to put him. You know what I mean? And like, I could have like been convinced anywhere within the top 6 to like place him at that position, except for like maybe like the top 2. And I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't.
He has a shorter challenge career than you remember.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think there's that much separation between like 3 and like 7 or 8. Like, I don't think there's that big of a difference.
See, there were 8 people that I really considered, and then that I had a hard time dealing with around the edges. With him, when I'm looking for building a team, really, I'm looking for people that don't have significant weaknesses that are going to hold my team back, but then also have the presence of mind to sort of keep the team moving in the right direction. And I think he checks both those boxes with leaps and bounds.
Yeah. And see, I thought I was already thinking about counter arguments when I put him in. Okay, Fresh Meat 1, arguably he and Coral were dominating the season until he got his hernia. And then they were told that they had to go because he had to go get surgery. Duel 1, he made.
But really, I think you can actually consider that season a win because he claims that Coral just went and banged him multiple times per day.
I did hear that, and his exact quote was, "She taught me some voodoo shit."
Yeah, so like borderline half win right there for Evan.
Yeah. So that was good. Duel 1 arguably could have made the final if he hadn't made the dumbest. I mean, he allowed Wes to talk him into going into elimination against CT.
That's the one thing with Evan is he's a good team leader, I guess, in like an abstract sense. But there are some specific circumstances you can point to where he did not do what he should have done.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He learned from his mistakes.
Can you remind me what I'm looking at it on the challenge wiki, the Ascender duel against CT was?
Oh, I really like that elimination. They had to like climb up a rope and then release, I think, of puzzle pieces and then make the puzzle before the other person did.
It was the one where he wrote the answer to the puzzle on
yeah,
and then they
rub it off. Yes. How can
TJ was like, "Hey man, that's cheating, man. Can't do that, man."
That's hilarious.
I wish
that box.
That's one of those Johnny Mosley moments that I wish Mosley had been there when Evan tried to cheat, because he would have been blowing whistles. There would have been an alarm go off. There would have been a siren.
Security bringing him down.
Don't you think it's funny how he tried to act like it wasn't a big deal?
Yeah,
like he did it. Or he was like surprised that like TJ would bring it up that he couldn't do it.
To be fair, people look at other people's puzzles all the time, and that's just fine.
Yeah, but he actually had it written.
Another level though.
Yeah, I think what's really funny is he and it was on Derek's podcast before he was doing Challenge Mania. So this was in that cutthroat time frame. Like Evan and Kenny were both on the show talking. And he said, yeah, no, every time TJ would announce the rules, we would then ask questions trying to find the loopholes so we could win better. You know, like he really did try to analyze every game. And he went to an Ivy League school. Didn't he go to like Dartmouth or something like that?
Well, that's why he leaves.
No.
That's why he throws himself in on Rivals 1, is that he has that thing with like Cornell or something.
Yeah, I think it's Cornell.
Yeah, and he even didn't want to do that season, but he did it as a political favor for Johnny and Kenny to get ahead in the game, and then he was leaving. So
they didn't need any political favors that season. They had the entire
outlet.
house on lock.
Yeah, well, the
He's
thing
got
is,
the Canadian pedigree too.
Yeah, they didn't know going into Rivals 1 that it was Rivals. Like they had no idea that that's what the format was going to be, which is why Wes and Kenny were legitimately hot when they announced the teams.
Yeah, even on the duel though with Evan, like he actually wins more missions than CT does.
Mm. If he hadn't made that stupid mistake, and then his other biggest mistake he made was not trying to get rid of Big Easy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up.
Because we've had that. Like, he learned from that because when he came on Duel 2, Evan took 0 chances of. I mean, he dumped Paula the moment she went against the alliance. He was like, "Yeah, nope, I'm gonna cut you out. You're done." So he learned.
Honestly, though, looking at his wiki, he really doesn't have any impressive, or maybe one impressive elimination win. So he lost to CT, beat Bananas on Gauntlet 3, beat
Which was not
Davis.
impressive.
Yeah, it was just a puzzle.
Beat Davis, Nehemiah, and Derek on Duel 2, and then lost to Adam and CT on Rivals. So it's like, yes, he took care of business against the crappier teams, but never beat someone his equal.
The only thing that I will argue back is Nehemiah. That elimination was actually really tough because he was so tired from doing the previous elimination. And so when Nehemiah picked him, they did that one with the chain where they had to like pull the chain to get their little box up to the top or whatever. And he and Nehemiah were literally neck and neck, and Evan won by like inches.
Nehemiah was a better competitor than I think people give him credit for.
He was just a terrible political player.
Yeah, I would say that
Evan, not good.
Evan is definitely one of those people that one of his greatest skills is being able to stay out of eliminations.
Definitely. Absolutely.
I just think this with that type of skill, it's just so hard for me because he was always casted with a bunch of people he was friends with.
Yeah, but he got it to the point where he was actually friends with them. You know what I mean? And so that
Yeah,
speaks
but it
to
was
his
a
like
lot of the
social and
same
political
characters.
ability.
Yeah, there was a lot of the same characters though. They didn't have a huge amount of turnover back in that time with the cast, so it was just they kept on putting on people he was friends with.
But think
like
about
if you put him on a season,
but they
now,
weren't
would you
just
get on
show
like a
friends.
No,
Like,
so
No, I mean most of them that's the
fucking
case.
wedding.
Sure.
he still made it to the final in Duel 2 when Kenny and Johnny weren't on the season.
Yeah, but that was one of his only friends. That's what I was saying.
Wait, say that again?
Well, those weren't his only friends. Like he had Diem and Paula. And
I know that's his skill. You know what I mean? Everyone was his friend. He had a lot of friends on the show.
I if you put him in a season now, I'm curious how he would get along with everybody.
I think the peak moment for Evan was on the Ruins where he and Kenny and Johnny were just being complete assholes and somebody else was being an asshole and they said, "Shut up, you're not funny like Evan and Kenny." I was like, oh, snap. Moment of truth.
You guys want to hear something really funny? I've got his fresh meat bio right here, and it's completely ridiculous.
Please share.
For those who think Canadians are boring, meet Evan. He loves to provoke people and, despite being infamously cocky, is well liked by his peers. Evan is a natural flirt and can't seem to help himself when it comes to sweet-talking the ladies, despite the fact that he has a girlfriend. Yet another way he seems to constantly get himself into trouble.
Oddly enough, I can't remember a single official hookup Evan had except for Veronica.
Okay, well, there's someone else mixed in
Coral, I guess. We just mentioned it, so Coral.
Screen,
but it wasn't on screen. Like, they hit it very well.
Like, he and Jody also had a thing going on in the Duel, didn't they?
I don't know.
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine.
All right, well, let's mush on here then. Who's next for number 4?
Devin.
I think of that. My number 4, 6'2", 195 pounds, out of Cedar Grove, New Jersey. 6 eliminations, 5 victories, 7 seasons on the challenge, 6 finals appearances, and 3 victories. Mr. Beautiful, Kenny Santucci.
Hey, yo!
Number 4.
He was nowhere near my list.
Wow, no way.
Yeah, I've always been lower on Kenny than everybody else.
He was the one that got bumped for Derek Kaczynski for me.
I have him higher on my list.
Good.
Interesting.
Well, I think you can make an argument that he's one of the best political players of all time.
He only saw 1 elimination, right?
No, he saw more than
he's
one.
5.
Well, wait, no, he only got eliminated once. He only got eliminated
only
once.
saw 1 individual elimination. The other
And that was on the Duel, and he got whooped on that. But other than that, like, that dude never... The only reason he went into elimination after that was he got lost or
No, I mean, on Fresh Meat 2, he was on the wrong side of the numbers for a little bit and got...
Oh, that's right. But still testament to his ability to come back from that hole that he was in. He didn't put himself there. That just happened.
See, but he's paired with Laurel on that season. And now if you look at the girls in that season, you got Laurel and Evelyn, and then everybody, the rest of those female competitors are nowhere close to that level of ability.
Should I just lay my argument out there, or should I wait till it comes up on my list?
Do it. I think you just need to lay it out. I'm interested.
All right, so he has 35 daily challenge wins in his 8 seasons in which he made 6 straight finals. The only challenger to ever do that. 6 straight, 3 wins, three finals wins. He was the face of the show during what many consider the golden era. And as you guys were just discussing, he's basically never had a bad partner, but I would attribute that to him being really great at politics. He basically him and Evan, they're always kind of a package deal, consistently controlled the game for about 6 or 7 seasons and was a daily challenge beast basically his entire career besides Rivals, where Wes had to carry him a lot of it. And I would argue his peak was probably the Ruins.
Well, but what did he do on the Ruins really that impressed that many people?
He never had to go win.
Yeah, because he had all his friends on the show with him.
And that's a skill.
I understand that's a skill. First of all, it's not a skill that's supposed to be evaluated based on this survey. But secondly, he didn't do anything in those missions to improve the performance of his team.
After hearing all your stats, Logan, I feel like I should bump Mark Long and put Kenny at 5.
No, but
I'm not, but we've made our list. But man, I feel like I erred
team
there.
On Gauntlet 3 and on the Champions team on the Ruins. That's an easy way to rack up those wins. That's like looking at Patriots fringe roster members.
Okay.
Oh wow, look at all the Super Bowls they have.
Okay, now we're gonna really make Rob mad. So look at the island. Okay.
Oh God.
Okay. Everybody hated Johnny. And Kenny still had the political stroke to convince Evelyn to keep Johnny Bananas, her arch nemesis in this season.
Good
he
callback.
Somehow sweet-talked
It's a stroke of
her.
masterwork.
I mean, to this day, Evelyn had mentioned she regretted doing that later. But, man, what argument did he pose to her to convince her not to take Johnny's key?
I think it's a pretty freaking obvious argument.
If you swap Johnny for Dunbar, because if Johnny had gotten the key taken, Kenny would have probably had, maybe Evelyn gets shut off the boat altogether because then it becomes Paula, Dunbar, Kenny, and Derek.
Yeah, no, she doesn't go on the boat. It's
so
Paula,
maybe
Dunbar,
that was his
Kenny,
argument was, hey, if you take Johnny's key, you're not on my boat. But they also didn't know how they were picking boats either. So that's...
Yeah, so remember how I told you about how I used to watch reruns, or not reruns, but I would binge watch old seasons of the show and get super high. And there was one night when I was watching The Island, and I kept thinking about that, I wonder how much they actually thought about how the teams would get split up. And I tweeted Kenny about that and asked him the question, and he actually responded. And I think he just responded with 2 words: a lot.
I don't think Kenny ever did that much to really elevate the performance of his team.
He saved his team members.
But that's he wasn't on a team with Johnny on the island. He was in an
alliance.
He was. That's
used
separate from
strength in numbers consistently.
It's just, again, the same thing with Evan, even though I had Evan way higher.
You know what, though, too? Kenny also had the ability to screw you over in the game, and they still loved him afterwards. You know what I mean?
I like the Paula circumstance.
Like the Paula circumstance, but also I think about the fact that he and Johanna are hooking up on the island, and at no point he mentioned in the show, we got to try and get Joey a key, but at the same time, his line was, hey, at some point, you got to do this for yourself. I can't just give you a key. You have to go win one. And
he
so
pulled off what Rogan never could on War of the Worlds 2.
He really did. And now that we are talking about this, I'm really kicking myself that he's not in my top 6. So there we go.
I stand by. I didn't have him in my top 10.
I think it's arguable based on the stats Logan read, and now us talking about this political thing, that he could be top 3, and I could even see an argument for number 2.
Okay, this is absurd. I don't. What is he good at?
We did it, my friend. I just got it.
Should we just move him to number 1? Number 1, right?
Okay, well,
podcast over.
Have a good night, everyone. To give you some background, the people had him number 11. So.
Wow, that is bullshit. Fuck you, people. Wait, I have 2 things. How did he get his key on the island? I don't remember. And 2,
he just lost. Didn't he just lose one of those face-offs? Then he was not voted off the island.
No, he won. It was Johnny.
No.
Johnny was the one that got the key based on that.
No, he won in the first one with Abram and Tanya, and then he lost.
No, I think that was Johnny, wasn't it?
That was not Johnny.
Right. No. It was Kenny, and Tanya and Abe, because in the next one, Johnny's going in so he can get his key, and then Abe's like, yeah, I'll rumble again, because Abe decided to go home.
Yeah, so he just gets saved and is just given a key and does nothing the rest of the season except he works some political magic. But that's about it.
That's fair, because didn't Abe win? Abe won that challenge.
So it was Abe and Tanya and him, and he lost, and he got the key.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
they're
just-
gonna beat Tanya over Kenny, so that's
Well,
again
that
a political mastermind to get those three people, or pull the anchor in with you that you know that you can beat in a vote.
And then to put a button on this topic, can I just say, final hot take of the night, Dunbar is the worst fucking challenger in the history of the show.
I'll take Dunbar over Nate Stodkill, but that's about it.
Dude, I don't even care. Dunbar, I'm glad we've never seen him on the show again. Garbage.
It is funny how much he got casted.
Okay, like 30 seconds before we started this podcast, I was running through all the seasons just to watch the intro so I could do those top songs. I watched the very first episode for a second of Cutthroat, and remember their whole thing is like, instead of the top 3 people that got there to choose teams, it was the bottom 3.
I know exactly where you're going. Yeah.
Okay, the top 2 picks of that season, I forget who made which pick, but it was
Camilla drafted Dunbar.
Yeah.
Drafted Dunbar, and then the next guy drafted anybody?
It was Vinny, right?
Fucking Vinny, dude. Get the fuck off my screen, Siobhan, you idiot.
Man, also the thing with that, how come it doesn't serpentine at all? How come it's just it's just linear? Like, have the producers never done a fantasy draft before? What are we doing here?
Probably not, yeah.
You know, Rob, that was a season that was crying out for your leadership. I'm being serious.
There are many seasons that cry out for my leadership.
All right, should we get to number 3s?
Yeah,
I think that's
guess.
a great spot to go. Where are we at with the people on number 3? Wait a minute, let me guess. Hold on. I'm going to say they said Johnny Bananas 3.
They said Darrell Taylor 3.
What?
Yeah, the people really like Darrell.
I had Darrell 3 as well.
I flirted with Darrell on my list for sure, but he did not crack the top 6.
Oh,
His
I'd so much rather
performance
have
on-
Darrell on my team than Kenny.
His performance on Dirty 30, it was obvious he was past his prime. And even on Invasion of the Champions,
Okay, but
he wasn't
that's
bad.
such a weird circumstance. In Dirty
He got
30.
purged out in a bullshit opening.
Yeah, like that.
But
that
I don't disagree with you, but from the Redemption House, he also didn't win his way back in. Tony did.
Yeah, but the thing is, both those, I like most of the missions eliminations in Dirty 30, but those two specifically were not set up to be super conducive to who was actually just the best at what they were doing.
And look at
he
how much he
pushes
lost
Tony
to
off.
Tony by. He lost to Tony by a butt cheek.
Yeah, and he pushes Tony off. It's just the way that they turn over. He ends up hitting the thing first.
I honestly think his 4 wins, while consecutive and incredibly impressive, I should say consecutive and early on in the seasons aren't as impressive as you would think that they are because of the level of difficulty of them.
I
Yeah.
think that if he wins the Ruins and doesn't get kicked off for the fight with Brad, I think there's a bigger case for me for
That's
him
a
to be in the
great
top
point.
6. But
See, I don't
because
think
his
that should
last
factor
win
in
was
at all.
fresh meat, I think it does, because it shows, even though the Ruins location, the production of that was a nightmare for all of the people in the cast. No air conditioning, too much alcohol, can't leave the house, period. No club nights, anything like that.
Sexual
I could see
assault allegations.
Oh yeah, just everything about that season is just a hot mess from the production standpoint. And so I can almost let it go just because of the fact of the conditions. But Darrell was always known as the guy that never lost his cool on the show, and the fact that he did, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
But
I
think
really
it's-
wanted to put him on because I met him at Challenge Mania Live out here in San Francisco. He's a Bay Area guy. He runs a fighting gym up in Sacramento. Super cool, but I just think his career is super weighted to the front end of it, and just not those wins don't carry as much weight as later wins.
What does Pete Kenny do better for your team than Pete Darrell does?
Politics.
But what does he do better in the politics?
everything.
For a team, what's he doing that's better?
You have to
Like,
understand
Darrell's
that,
team's
Rob,
always-
like how we're thinking about it from the perspective of if you put this person on a season, how likely are they going to be to win the season?
I understand that, but Darrell also, every time he was on the team season, still found himself in the main alliance and was able to win.
See, I can't argue with that piece of it, but I also say this comes in with the asterisk piece of formatting. With Inferno 1 and 2, being able to win your way out of elimination in the next challenge, and that really weights it because Darrell was smart enough in those. He's like, yeah, I'm going to make sure I'm not going in elimination. So here I'm going to go put my crabs in first before I help anybody else. And so that's smart, and it's a good play for him. But on the same token, it's like there's some wonky rules. But he was also on a stacked team both times, which, I mean, him and Timmy, Derek, Abe, those guys weren't going home.
Yeah, but also, like, if you go on the ruins, he actually throws himself in. Is it twice? Yeah, he throws himself in twice in the ruins for the betterment of his team.
No, he did that because he was going to go in anyway, and it was easier for him to just say, hey, I'm going in. And then he cut a
Look
deal.
who he faced. He faced Danny and Kahutta.
Well, I'm just saying from the perspective of being willing to put himself into elimination. But also, like,
he cut a deal.
He was not going to go in for sure. No, he wasn't going to go in for sure. Wes was still on the team the first time he threw himself in.
Who did he go in against the first time?
It was Danny.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and the Kahutta one is he said when he went in, he cut the deal with Evan and Kenny that basically said, hey, if I go in this one, Bananas is in the next one, basically, was the way that went down. That was
with the second one.
Yeah, and he went after Kahutta for the bank account, which was also smart. Like, he went in when it was politically advanced. So I give him that. He went in when it was politically advantaged. It's just too bad he got drunk and blew up with Brad.
I would significantly rather have Darrell on my team than Kenny.
I think that's a bit splitting hairs because they're both good at such different things. And actually, I do think that although obviously he went out first in Fresh Meat 2 with Cara Maria as his partner, I think that shows how terrified everyone was of him to ensure that he got in that first elimination. So it's hard to hold that one against him.
Yeah,
and like if you switch Cara and Laurel around in terms of their partner, because
Darrell wins the season probably.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
And then
that's a good point.
Because she was nowhere near the competitor she is these days versus when she was back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So does anyone else have Darrell higher on their list?
I mean, he's in my honorable mentions, and he's not in the top for me.
See, I think that's a bad take over here.
And see, I'm with Logan, though. I think because of the weight of his earlier wins, like, it doesn't mean he's not one of the greatest. It doesn't mean he's not one of the best, but it's hard to go top 6 when you go from Inferno 2 to Final Reckoning. When you go in that time span, his resume just doesn't hold up against other people.
Okay, but like he came back also on Champs vs. Pros and won that season against both top challenge competitors.
Bro, you lost me the second you said Champs. that shit does not fucking count. You and Johnny Bananas are the only ones that count those wins.
I'm not saying it should count as an official win, but what I'm saying is it proves that he can actually compete still these days.
I don't know. It's tough for me to get behind. The only thing I stand behind in Champs vs. Stars, the only good thing that ever came out of that was Riff Raff being on our TVs.
Oh yeah, the TOCT fight is pretty great TV.
You're right. That was classic.
I actually quite enjoyed the first and third iterations of those seasons. The second one is horrible, but the first and third ones I thought were actually pretty decent.
Yeah, and
funny enough, they actually filmed that third one. I don't know, a 6-minute walk from where I used to live when I was in LA.
Wow.
It was at the hotel where I used to go to get there was like food trucks there, and I used to go and hang out at the bar because it was at this place called Mother's Beach right in Marina Del Rey. And I even recommended it that hotel to my girlfriend when her company was going down to LA for a trip. So yeah, that season does hold a little special place in my heart.
Did you run into like West and CT there or no?
No, I mean they didn't overlap when they were there.
And
unfortunately, I had already moved back to the Bay Area when they were filming it, but it was still cool to see them there.
Dude, okay, this is a crazy story. So I actually had a friend who did like a military corps type program, and he was in Thailand while World of the Worlds 2 was filming.
Whoa, no way.
And he was actually pretty close where they were filming. So one time I told him, like, dude, if you're interested in meeting up with some people who will be down to hang out, just head to a bar that's close to this location. And so he never actually ran into them, unfortunately. But it
There
still
only
could have
been
happened.
to one bar the whole season. That's for sure.
It's funny. Pat was talking about this on his show. They think it might be just like a producer setup bar, like it's not an actual bar. Like it's just like some like structure the producers or how to like actually.
No. That's a straight up rooftop bar in Thailand. I could
It
verify.
looks pretty legit though. Yeah.
Yeah. There's too much that looks legit from the point of service system and everything. There's no way that's a producer setup
These
bar.
people are good at their jobs, Trace.
I mean, you also have to realize though that they film in these countries for a specific reason because the laws about filming are so lax versus filming
100%.
I mean, I do believe, and I will give a little bit of credence to Pat's take, in that they rent out the rooftop bar for the night to keep non-cast members off the rooftop. Like
they don't
definitely.
They don't need a Johnny's cutthroat situation again.
Definitely not. So to put one last
Except where he got punched in the face from a dude leaping.
Yeah, when he gets thrown down
downstairs.
the steps. Throw down the steps in Prague.
Golly. So yeah, the one argument, and I will put a button in Durrell, that I could buy your champs versus pros or stars, whichever one that was. It's champs versus stars. You could have gotten me if you would have said that his performance on Invasion of the Champions was legit, because it was. And who did he lose into elimination? CT. So
CT also broke that elimination.
He did.
One of the greatest eliminations in the history of the show. It was when they did they had to wrap up or tie up the rope in that like jungle gym set, and he got it tied in such a strong knot that Durrell literally could not advance any farther.
Well, they had to like get a knife out, right?
I mean, yeah, he broke it, like you said. He literally solved the elimination.
Yeah, like that's actually both those eliminations that happened, because the Camilla Laurel one is also in that same like episode. So people don't talk about those.
That is one of those seasons that people hail as a great one, but it gets kind of lost in the shuffle.
Invasion?
Yeah, like I think there are a lot of
people that don't like Invasion.
See, that's so weird.
I think Invasion is actually really great if you go back and binge it.
The format's just wonky to me.
The format might seem wonky, but I'm all in on it because of the way it was structured. The only thing that was a bit wonky was waiting that the champions were only going to get 2 total representatives. To me, that's a bit wonky. I think it should have been a little bit more open-ended, but that's a nitpick because from top to bottom.
And that the champs never had the same amount of players as the non-champs was kind of stupid.
Yeah, that was dumb.
So, but as a whole, I really enjoy that season. Like, really enjoy it. So, anyway, that's a very large side trail. So,
Trace, when we did our poll, what's that?
Go ahead. For Invasion, our poll.
Our poll, they came out as 19th from the people.
Wow, that is very surprising.
Out of 32.
I think that's a bad
take. Is it my turn for number 3?
Yes.
The fans, right? Or who did the fans?
No, we just did the
fans.
Was
Durrell.
The fans, and we got on
that's right.
big one there.
Okay, my number 3. Wow, without saying, it's tough to say the stats because it sort of gives it away. So he's got an 8-13 elimination record. He has partaken in 8 finals. He has 58 challenge wins. 6 wins, 19 seasons. I am, of course, talking about Jonathan Davenanzio. Kind of consider him the Barry Bonds of the challenge in that he's been around for so long that he's accumulated insane stats and been embroiled in controversy the whole second half of his career. The face of the modern challenge, almost always been in good or great or at least good teams or partners. And I think I would consider his peak free agents, and we're supposed to take this list to be at their peak, but looking at his Wikipedia page, man, the last third of his career is really, really fucking bad.
Yeah, it's not been good lately for him.
I agree. As a big Bananas fan, I would agree with you. His last, I would say, Final Reckoning wasn't terrible. That was a
he was one away from the final. That
was a fluky elimination.
How much can you take out of anything that happened in Final Reckoning? Nothing that season is like predictive of anything going forward.
Yeah,
I think such a wonky format.
The night before, he was in an elimination essentially that he won, and the producers redid it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that season, I don't take any almost anything out of
And
that
I would
season.
even say
And,
like Dirty 30, he was fine. Like he lost to Derek. That's a legit
he
loss.
How close to the final was
He
that?
coasted a lot on
away?
Dirty 30. No, but see, he only won like one mission on Dirty 30.
Against a super stacked cast where he's competing against CT, Jordan, Derek.
Well, if he's ranked this highly like on people's list, he should be able to beat those people.
He made it to episode 14 on Dirty.
He was the last male elimination, right? He and Derek.
That's what I'm trying to.
Well, it depends on how you kind of like word it.
Because he got purged and then he came back and then did the elimination. Or was it he went through the purge and didn't make it through the purge?
He
safe for the purge, yeah.
Yeah,
no. What I mean is they did like a challenge where the people in the redemption house, like somebody got to come back and he didn't win that.
He did not. That was when he got knocked
That was
out.
CT that did that, right?
They brought two guys back in, and CT and Jordan both came back in.
Yeah, which against CT.
CT, Dario, Jordan, Leroy, and Johnny all partook.
Man, can you imagine if like Dario comes out and wins that mission?
Was that the season that Dario just slept through?
Yes.
He had like 6 confessionals the whole season.
I mean,
actually, now that I'm looking at it,
season.
I think his most impressive elimination win is against Riff Raff in Champs vs. Stars.
Yeah, dude. He just, I think a lot. Like if Kenny doesn't work his political magic and Evelyn takes his key, like he's nothing.
I don't think he's nothing. I think
that's
he's essentially nothing.
I mean,
No,
you are a self-professed
crazy.
hater of the island and really wish that season was just not remembered at all. So,
Well, it's an important season. It's just not a good one. Like I don't know what to tell you.
Dude, listen, I host a show where the name is literally us trying to rib fucking Johnny Bananas because I despise the guy so much. But I put him up here because numbers talk, and even though maybe getting to finals has been difficult for him, he is 6 for 8. And the 2 that he's lost are Inferno 3 and Rivals 2, which was very, very close. The man was the face of the challenge for an entire generation.
So does anybody else have him higher on their list?
yes,
2.
I have him at 2 as well.
Well, so let me give the anti-Bananas case here. So this is I don't have a strong opinion either way on him. I think he's a fine character. I think he's actually important from a producer perspective. But so he does nothing impressive on the duel. Obviously, that's his first season. You can't really bang him either way for that one. But on the island, if Evelyn takes his key, he's not on the champions team on the Ruin, so he doesn't win that season. At that point, whether or not he's casted from there on, who knows? But he's also probably not as ingrained in that alliance thing because he's not in that on that season. So then who knows also what happens on Rivals or X's at that point? Because again, he's not like in the friendlier part of the show, and he's just never like had any real moments that have really elevated teams or like shown a super impressive individual performance to me.
What about the elimination? And I know you're gonna say he threw it, but the
Adam did throw that elimination. That happened. GT was like dragging Adam across the ground.
How sure are we about that?
I can say that with significant confidence.
Yeah, I wanted for a long time to think that wasn't true, but I watched it a couple times and
Adam threw it. Yeah.
Also,
there's a reason he wasn't invited back.
Yes, CT has mentioned that Adam threw it. If you go back and watch the Rivals reunion, CT makes a comment about him not throwing it, and Johnny makes his face like clearly he did throw it. I mean, that could be some producer magic, but the fact that the producers even were willing to like intimate that he threw it, I definitely think he throws it. Also, on Rivals on that final, Kenny and West should have won that final. Like the way they had it structured didn't make any sense.
I mean, they erased like a 2-hour lead, didn't they?
Yeah, they had like a 2-hour lead after the first day. And the second day, they give them like a 2-minute head start, and the entire like length of the final the second day is significantly shorter than it was the first day.
Wait, sorry, say that again. Which season are you referring to?
Rivals
on
1.
Rivals.
Rivals 1, okay.
Yeah, so they had a huge lead, and the reward for the lead from the first day was you got, how much of a head start was it, Rob?
Like 2 minutes, right?
Like
It's
2
like
minutes.
2 minutes, and there was only like one part of it compared to the massive thing that was the first day.
So they pretty much just like forced parody to try and make the end of the show compelling.
True, and it gave Tyler another day to heal from his whatever illness.
Stomach virus, food poisoning.
Yeah.
West was really sick on the final there too, though. So I think it was probably even for both teams.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say this, and it feels really gross to say, and it pains me because for a long time, every time I interviewed someone who was on the Ruins, I felt compelled to ask them, and a lot of people declined to ever answer. But I think the greatest thing to ever happen to Johnny was the allegations from Tanya coming out about Kenny and Evan, because it forced MTV to never cast them again. And they wanted some semblance of that generation to continue on in the show. And that was John Davinanzio. So from Ruins on, Cutthroat made it deep in the show. Of course, we all know what happened there. And then Rivals, Battle of the X's, Rivals 2, Free Agents. He won 3 of 4 right there. And I think that rivals any challenger ever on the show for a 4-season run.
Something that's really random. He's from Orange County, California. Guess where he went to college?
Penn
State.
That's so random.
Well, that's where his cousin played football, wasn't it?
I think
Vince.
so.
Yeah. Cousin Vince
I think
did not fare very well in the polls, as you shocker
fuck
people.
Vince, dude. That guy was whack.
Let's see. Where was Vince? Vince was number 58 out of 60 people on the poll.
That sounds about right.
That I would have said
60?
that's probably accurate.
Wait, can I hear who 59 and 60 were?
59 was Big Easy, and then 60 was Jose.
Yo, that is mad disrespectful to my boy, dude. Big Easy. I'm looking forward to hanging with him in Nashville. I'm going to Challenge Mania Live down there in January.
I would love to hang out with Big Easy, but I don't want him on my team.
Dude, he is not that bad of a competitor. He has one obvious glaring black eye on his challenge career, but like, dude, you look at some of the eliminations he's been in. Look at his hall brawl. That enough should like say something.
I would not want Big Easy on my team. If we ever do like a challenge all-time draft, Logan, you can have Big Easy.
I'm not saying I would take him. I'm just saying he's not bottom 50 competitor. Not bottom 10 competitor.
Here's the thing that gets me about Big Easy. In this particular poll, we're talking about who would you want on your team. I'm not saying that he's not good in certain eliminations, and I'm not saying like the thing that he did in Battle of the Seasons, holding those rocks up. I mean, dude is strong. Dude has some stuff behind him. But when it comes to who do I want on my team when I run a final, I don't want Big Easy on my team for a final. Like his track record with what he did in Gauntlet 3 dismisses to me that he has endurance to get through a final.
And that would have been CT's first win, wasn't it?
Yeah, it would have been.
It would have been a lot of people's first win.
Been Brad.
Yeah.
Paula.
Brad, I forgot Brad was a part of that squad too.
Robbins.
All right, well, let's hear where
read the last 5 people.
So Jose was 60, Big Easy 59, Vince Bloodline's fame is 58, and Dario is 57, and Isaac is 56.
What?
Isaac's not that bad. Yo, Isaac was supposed to come to Challenge Mania out here in San Francisco, and he texted Scott and was like, yo, Scott, is it cool if I bring my baby goat to the show? Scott was like, yo, are you kidding me, dude? Of course not. This is like a professional show at a comedy venue.
We cannot bring live.
I guess that was a deal breaker.
Yes.
No, Isaac.
But that also
you can put the goat somewhere.
That raises Isaac's stock that he legitimately brought that up like that wouldn't be a strange request. So that actually keeps music points in my book. Ironically enough, I would have ranked Vince higher than the other 2 people on that list, Dario.
Vince has been in a final. He legitimately made a final.
And finished.
I don't know if he legitimately made the final. He just had Johnny and Sarah carrying him in the whole
That's part of legitimately getting there, though.
Your cousin's greatest challenge, or your cousin's got the best partner on the season.
But that's also a season 2 where the bottom half of that cast is so bad you had to be really bad to get eliminated before the halfway point.
Is Bloodlines the greatest audible in the history of the show when they called up Abe and his cousin and his brother to come on the show?
It's safe to see.
I would have liked to see Tony and Shane stick around for a bit. They were great TV for 2 episodes. But
I mean, by the producers having a incredibly shitty season, panicking last minute and bringing in Abe in, I think is like an all-time great audible to be like, you know what? We know what we've got here isn't great. Let's bring in the most dramatic person into the most dramatic storyline possible.
It did. It saved the season.
Yeah. I don't know if it saved the season. I think the season is still drowned a little bit there. But
think how bad it would have been if Abe hadn't shown up.
I mean,
it would have been more Thomas Buell hand jobs in the back of the bus.
We might have been in Battle of the Sexes 1 territory.
I mean, the end of that season is pretty bad. There's like a 6-minute segment where they're just like finger painting one episode.
Cool.
Yikes. We have hit
right,
the complete...
Let's hear everyone else's number 3.
I think it's me. I have Landon at number 3. And the reason...
Higher on my list.
The reason that he does not go 2 or 1, because I really thought about putting him number 2 or number 1, it boils down to, in his wins, he was a great contributor in his first 2 wins. Like, his team is better for him being there. To me, his peak was Fresh Meat 2, and the fact that he drug Carly through that final and was able to take obviously someone who was not a good competitor and somehow beat Kenny and Laurel is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. The flip side to that is his politics in that season were good because his politics in Duel 2, he won so many challenges, and the way the list went, like, no one wanted to go against Landon in an elimination. But when it boiled down to it, Evan, Mark, and Brad, as soon as he left the room, they were like, we're voting for Landon, right? I mean, that kind of showed that his political situation wasn't as good as it could have been, because if he had been Mark's number 1, that'd have been Evan versus Brad.
And honestly, looking back on the Duel 2, his loss to Brad is a little fluky.
It is.
No,
it's
really
Johnny Mosley,
fluky.
Janky
Carnival
type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it has
give
me.
Brad credit, but...
It has me second guessing putting him as low as I did, but he's a great competitor, man. I only really hesitate to put him higher because of the fact that he only did 4 seasons.
That's the one. I guess you could say that's fair, just with the sample size. It's just hard for me. Like, if I see all these people across from me and Landon is there, it's hard to not want to just take Landon by your side and just run with it.
Yeah.
Did you guys listen to the Challenge Mania interview with him?
I did. That was a while ago, though, right?
Yeah.
It was when he was rumored to be on whatever it was.
Oh, his Final Reckoning.
Was it Final Reckoning? Yeah.
And he was like, I have no idea.
Yeah, that was wild how that rumor went out
so
there,
weird.
and he just didn't have a fucking clue, and there was a fake Instagram account of him.
That goes to tell you how bad the Vevmo board is, because they're the ones that started that rumor, and it just took on a life of its own. It's like,
That's a group we really don't need to be against this race.
Okay, fair enough, because we'll get spammed to death. You know what? I appreciate what they do from the spoiler standpoint. I don't personally look at spoilers because I like to watch the show and be surprised and react and not be expecting things to happen. But I appreciate the aspect of, I think her name's Pink Rose. I appreciate how she has enough connections to get the info she does. But
did you hear the big rumor that they kind of screwed up on for Challenge 35 coming up?
Well, I heard that they had said Tori from Brad and Tori was on the show.
Exactly,
and apparently
yeah.
It wasn't even close to true.
Apparently not. Yeah, everyone got all excited. Twitter was ablaze for a couple of days, for like a week, and then came out that she, in fact, is not on the new season.
And Brad's comment
I went
was
public with that one. I did not feel good. It was not good for me.
Yeah, Brad came out and was basically like, yeah, that was her and Kendall just
trolling.
Yeah. Which I give them props for their trolling ability, because they put that bait in the water and everybody ate it.
When are we going to have Pink Rose on the podcast?
I think she likes her anonymity, is my guess.
Why don't we
we should do an interview with Pink Rose where we kind of like augment the voice like they do in those 60-minute interviews.
Like in that Banksy documentary?
Yeah, where
Exit
it's
through the
like,
gift shop?
Yeah, it's all like the visual of the person is like completely blacked out, and it sounds like an asexual robot is speaking.
I am not sure what the spoilers on said season would be. No. So
I can just pretend to be Pink Rose, and we can just like put out some other episodes.
That inevitable will be back for season
just let me
36.
get licked up and I'll be Pink Rose. That'd be interesting. I'd probably swear a lot more than she does, though, I'm sure.
Evelyn is coming back for season 40.
I'd be all in on that.
That would be the biggest shocker of all time if she came back to the show. I would see Kenny, even though Kenny is way moved on, even if they decided to let him back, I could see Kenny before I could see Evelyn.
Oh, see, the biggest shocker is when they bring Baloo back on.
I don't know. We had a scenario where Baloo's baby could have been on Bloodline. You know.
And you let me know when Puck is on parole and he can come back and film.
There we go. That's exactly what I need.
Rob is all in on Puck after seeing this.
I am all in on Puck.
I was all in on Puck until I saw the domestic violence allegations, and I was like, you know what?
Wow.
If Buna Murray is cutting bait with you, you've got some problems.
My point exactly. All right, where are we at on number 3?
I just did number 3 with Landon. We've pretty much I've beaten that horse dead. I think it's Devin's turn.
Jordan, and we've talked about him enough, so we can
higher
go
on
to.
to.
So we can go on to
higher. That's crazy, dude.
Number 2 for the people, Rob.
Number 2 for the people is Landon Lewick.
It makes sense.
I get it.
I mean, I think people really look back on his seasons with rose-colored glasses and are like, wow, man, he like kicked so much ass when he was there and really like dominated the seasons he was on. And I think nostalgia is a powerful fucking tool, and this poll reflects that.
Yeah, because the hot take is also the fact that the people did not put Johnny Bananas in their top 6. Because if Johnny is not in this list for the people, I know who their number 1 is. I
wouldn't be surprised if he was number 1.
Can
I ask how many people voted in this poll?
Yeah, I was going to ask that earlier.
I forgot to get a check on that.
I believe when you guys did the female one, it was like over 1,000, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, we had a lot.
That's awesome.
I have my methods of procuring some resources.
And you guys posted on like Twitter and the challenge.
Yes, Twitter, Reddit.
And then
I have
his
Pat
media
posted on his show. Yeah. Then
Are you guys familiar with the challenge Facebook page, the challenge fans?
Yeah,
I'm not actually.
I actually deactivated my Facebook account, so I didn't have access to that.
Is it as much of a cesspool as the Survivor Facebook page?
I wouldn't know about that one. I actually really, really stand behind this one. I think it's really great because the admin are really awesome. I've had a couple of them on my podcast, one of which is my homie Alex. She's really great. I've met a couple of the other admin at like Challenge Mania shows. So they really take like strong consideration into filtering through the posts that go through there. And so I mostly use it for like crowdsourcing questions for interviews I do and stuff like that, but I'm always posting my podcast there. So you guys should join it and throw your podcast in there. It's a great community. I think there's 15,000 people in the Facebook group. Wow. So it's a good audience, and people.
That's about the. Go ahead. I was going to say that's about the size of Reddit too.
The subreddit like 25 now, aren't they?
They're pretty.
I wouldn't be surprised. The subreddit has blown up in the last year or so.
I think they're here. I've got Reddit open right now. I'm going to pull that up while y'all filibuster.
Well, just to give the background, so there were 1,100 people to vote in the poll.
Nice, that's legit. Yeah, I've been a member of this Facebook group for a long time, and it's a great page. It's a good community. Like sometimes though, like when I had Jemmy on the podcast recently, I threw up. I was like, oh, we're having Jemmy on the pod. Leave some questions. We'll try to get to them. And it was like 180 comments later. 100 of them are fuck Jemmy. Why is she on? She's got old stale tea. All she does is try to drum up old drama, talk about Cara Maria. And then the other half is genuinely great questions, trying to ask her and pick her mind and stuff like that. So I do like that it's half people who are just there for the drama and half people who are there really invested in the show.
That's good. So
Reddit, that's just not my vibe.
Reddit has blown up even further since War of the Worlds 1. Because we checked War of the Worlds 1, they were at 25K. They're now at 36.1.
Whoa.
Damn. Okay, I'm looking at the Challenge Fans Facebook group, and it is 24.4 thousand people.
So that gives a lot of insight into how War of the Worlds has exploded the audience of just social media, adding Big Brother, adding Survivor, Amazing Race coming up in season 35. Like, they're really doing the right thing here. And then also adding the UK audience in Because the challenge, from what I heard, and Logan, you might be able to help me out here. The challenge is not aired in the UK up until War of the Worlds 1, right?
They tried Vendettas, but people didn't like it.
I did recently interview both Rogan and Idris, and they said that War of the Worlds 1 is the first season that aired. I actually had never heard that about Vendettas. I wouldn't be surprised if they put it on like a late.
Yeah, they put it on way after the season had started airing, and that just had no market.
They were several episodes behind the live airings in the U.S. So yeah,
War of the Worlds 1 was like 4 or 5 or 6 episodes behind us, but it did indeed air there, and I believe War of the Worlds 2, if it hasn't started airing there already, will be airing soon. And
if I remember correctly, when they went to film the reunion for War of the Worlds 2, they were doing UK press tours for this War of the Worlds 2 season.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So yeah, because they did film that in the UK.
Yeah, they did. And so if I remember correctly, like I remember Banana saying like he was on some different talk shows. He and Kyle and Bear were on some talk show.
Oh, right on.
So they were doing UK press during the War of the Worlds 2 reunion, which was like a month ago. So it had started airing here, but not there yet.
Cool. Was that when the Bear Georgia Monkey thing happened, or was that somewhere else?
No, I think that was the same show.
So the same show, like that reunion?
Like that time frame, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right, is that everybody's number 3?
Yeah.
I think so. Oh, yeah, we just did number 2.
We just did number 2.
Landon was number 2 for the people. So
right.
I feel like we've got Landon on lock.
Yeah, and my number 2 is Mr. Beautiful himself, Kenny Santucci.
Oh, God.
There we go.
Based on your stats, I'm in on it.
I don't see him elevating his team at all. He's just a compiler to me.
I'm just kind of upset I didn't have him at 1. Like, that's like my biggest
ridiculous take.
Okay, fuck
God.
you. But I get it. I mean, when I was originally compiling my top 6, I kind of put Kenny and Evan to the side, and I was like, I know I have to have one of them in here. I don't think I can fit both. And looking at the stats and considering his political game, I think, let me see. Originally, you want to hear my original list? It had Mark Long 2, Landon 3, Bananas 4, Darrell 5, Jordan 6.
Who was 1?
Well, we'll get there. I think we're all going to probably have the same number 1. So
we're not all going to have the same number 1.
Wow. Okay.
So, but the craziest thing though is Mark Long went from number 2 on my list to not making the top 6.
See, I never put that much into Mark Long. I thought about him a little bit, but I even think someone like Theo Vaughn is actually better than Mark Long. He just doesn't quite have the same legacy within the show.
Yeah, and based on the rules of your poll, he only did Fresh Meat 1 in that time frame.
Yeah, I think
Vaughn,
he was
better secondary career, not better challenger.
He was pretty good on the challenge.
Have you watched his Netflix comedy special?
It's really funny.
It's pretty great. Shockingly great.
It.
Does he talk about the challenge at all? I'm assuming no.
No. I found this podcast that he co-hosts. I forget the name of it, but it was like weekly for years and years. And in one specific episode, he actually discusses how he really tried to distance himself from reality TV in general, moving into the entertainment industry. Because as someone who worked in film for a couple years in LA, they're two completely separate worlds. And to cross over from reality TV to legitimate actor, comedian, a non-docuseries reality TV type entertainment, it is incredibly, shockingly tough. And when you make the jump, you really kind of have to leave that whole world behind you. But look at the challengers that have made the jump. It's him. It's Cameron, Jamie Chung, The Miz, and the list sort of ends right there.
Jordan was on like that one Tyler Perry show once.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a sustained career though.
I was being mostly sarcastic.
Okay, sorry.
But yeah, it is crazy how much he tried to distance himself from Road Rules and the challenge, and how successful he's been in the comedy world.
Yeah, he's a real shocker that would come back on.
No, he'll never do it.
That's what I'm saying. He'd be a real shocker to come back on.
Yeah, for sure.
Oy.
All right,
I
so
can't
let's hear
fault
from-
you based on your stats. I'm with Devin. I would.
He was on the champs team and the veteran on the Ruins and the veterans team on Gauntlet 3. It's like Robert Horry like in the 90s.
I think I'm definitely moving him up one spot at least. So he's
in the
my
top
number
6.
3 for sure. Yeah.
He's in my top
6
6
straight
now.
finals talks. Let's be honest.
I would
I
swap.
think he was consistently put in ideal situations for him. And he never really had to perform that much.
There have been people that have been put in better situations consistently and have failed.
I think
I
the
don't know
ideal
about that.
situations
Who's
need
been
to
put
be.
in better situations than him?
I think the
Go
ideal
ahead.
situations need to be at least 50% giving credit to Kenny and his politics.
But he was just constantly casted with all these people who'd be willing to go along with what he said. If you put him on one of these seasons, I don't know if he has that political leverage. I'd be skeptical.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing is like he doesn't have the relationships with these people, and his skill is building up those. His skill is building up the relationships.
If Kenny had continued on the show, I think his stats would have looked very similar. And the fact with the CrossFit stuff that he does and the stuff he puts on Instagram, physically the guy could still go. So if he could get the relationship thing down, which if he had continued on the show, he probably could have. So I think it's fair to say that his legacy would have gotten bigger had he stayed on the show. And I think maybe your point, maybe Bananas record suffers a little bit maybe if you put him in those same seasons. It's a what if, but I think it's a fair what if.
I actually think competitively he could be maybe even better than he was. But that's just again going with I just never thought he was that dominant in competition.
But don't you guys find it bizarre how he, obviously had whatever alleged incident happened on the Ruins, and then MTV had to stop casting him on these shows. But you remember he used to also host like the after shows and still be like challenge adjacent for a lot of
years. He was hosting the
to...
Jersey Shore after shows.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Well, the thing is with those things, people like conflate MTV with all these morals. It's just production costs. Like it's insurance money.
Yeah,
like,
I'm actually with Rob.
The secret thing about Camilla, she is not the reason. The Leroy incident is probably a factor in her not being casted. That's not the reason she's casted.
It's more the Chance for Stars incident, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's because she hit a producer with a golf cart.
Yeah. As horrid as it is to say.
Yeah, she would fail. She fails the mental exam, and the insurance is too high. So
because she's having a great time playing the ukulele on the beach in Thailand. That's
my
God.
You know what's funny?
She still pops up as like a Twitter account I need to follow. And she's somebody I gleefully skip past.
Ugh. All right. So my number 2, we already said it. It was Bananas. I will just I won't give the full recap summary, but in my opinion, he has by far the 3 hardest final wins in a row that any competitor has ever done. The fact that whether he was spotted, the 2-minute catch up for Rivals 1, the fact that he still survived that final and won is astounding because that was easily the hardest final they had to that point. And Wes even said that was the hardest final until War of the Worlds 1. So that's impressive. And
which one?
Rivals 1.
Okay, yeah. I see that.
And they even talked about on one of Derek's old podcasts that final, like they cut out so many other things about that final that should have been shown to show how grueling it really was. Like apparently when they had to go back to the campsite when they didn't set it up properly the first time, they had to go back and move all of that dirt back where it was and then move it back again before they could go to the campsite and fix it.
Jeez.
And apparently there's also a piece of it where production couldn't film because it was too dangerous for the camera people to follow them up the mountain. So the fact that he survived it and then whether he won on a technicality or not, that is impressive as hell to me. And then he goes in and whether Mark probably threw it for Battle of the X's 1, he still won another grueling final in another crazy environment in the snow. And then he followed that up with winning Free Agents, which was by far his peak and his best performance all around because he didn't get ducked in any eliminations. I mean, I know that he beat Jordan and it was in an elimination where Jordan's not having 2 hands probably ruined that. But at the end of the day, like, he by far had the best 3-season stretch of any competitor, and no one will convince me otherwise.
Give me Landon's 3 seasons over those 3 seasons easily.
I disagree because, again, you're going back to that different era, even though Landon did win
but
3 in a row.
There's so many technicalities in those seasons. Like, with the Rivals one, we just pointed out the thing about the final. He also had the entire house wrapped around Kenny, like that power alliance clearly had the whole house wrapped around their finger. I actually think X's is his best season. But go ahead, Devin.
I think with any character in their seasons, like, there are different things that have to like break your way to be able to win it. You know what I mean? You have to have like a little bit of luck to be able to make it to the end and carry home the title, and that's just part of the story. That's how it goes.
Well, like, Landon didn't really have anything break his way on freshman too.
No, he didn't.
About it. Yeah, no, you're right.
I give you that, but again, when you go back, my reasoning behind this is the finals, and the Inferno 2 final does not even come close to any of those 3.
Well, but like, difficulty of final, everyone in the final is subjected to the difficulty of the final. Like, to me, it's great that he completed it, but like, do you think Landon put in that final doesn't complete it? No, like, and everybody else in the final. But everybody else in the final is subject to the same circumstances. So being able to win a difficult final versus a not as difficult final, as long as they're still testing like around like grouping of your abilities, to me it doesn't matter that much.
But see, then the other piece of this that I give Bananas a lot of credit for as the face of the show, the fact is that he's kind of a de facto producer, and I would even say beyond producer, he is kind of the gatekeeper. Because of his reputation, he's going to get cast because when the new cast members beat him, it means something.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, that even
wait, can I just put an addendum? Meant something. It meant something. That is a hard past tense.
Since Rivals 3, he has not put much on tape that's been impressive.
Other than Final Reckoning, I completely agree. He has been pretty dog shit.
Final Reckoning, I don't understand. Like, I don't take anything for Final Reckoning.
He was one dumb mistake away from beating Theo this season.
Yeah, and see, I think that's the thing is, like, you talk about how Devin said things have to break your way, and in those earlier seasons, because of the political situation he was in with Evan and Kenny, but even you could argue in Free Agents, he was not in a good political situation that season. He got thrown in, and he had to win to keep himself safe, and he had to beat CT.
What he beat people in that season.
I still maintain
he beats Isaac in Balls In.
That was a mismatch. I give you that. But
yeah, and then he beats Jordan in the one elimination where not having hands, not great for you.
And then
he beats CT in a puzzle. And CT is good at puzzles, but like, it's a puzzle. Like,
but again, it's the game still broke his way, and he took advantage of it. And now he's in a stage of his career where the game is just not breaking his way. Jimmy calls it a curse. I don't believe in that kind of stuff, but
I think that's part of it, honestly.
Not
that he has a hex on it, but that he's made himself such a target for everybody else now that they just aren't going to let him get past a certain point.
Yeah, but they also like glom off of his quote unquote spotlight for their own reputation. Like, they try to build their reputation off. Well, they all target him, and they all talk about him, and they all try to get in fights with him because that gets you camera time.
So I have Johnny Bananas at my number 2. We skipped Rob's number 2. Rob?
I have Jordan Wisely at number 2.
Okay.
I can't argue with you.
I think pretty much everyone had Jordan in their top 6 except you, Trace, right?
I always have the weird hot take. Yeah, no, I'm out.
And then number 1 for the people, Rob?
CT Chris Tamburello.
Oh my
is number
God.
1 for the people. Yeah, I'm not buying that.
I'm out. Logan?
You guys need to put some fucking respect on Chris's name. That's all I have to say, because I am in lockstep with the people here. The people get it.
I'm with you.
Are we sure Logan didn't just vote on this poll like 1,100 times?
Trace, where did you have
It's possible.
CT's number 1. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Do you really want to, if you really want CT on your team? That's what I think with the CTs and the Johnnies and the Kennys. Like, CT actually does have some performances that are pretty jaw-dropping, but with him, he just has a few weaknesses that would prevent me from wanting him on my team that much. I still had him in my top 6, but he's not my number 1.
Can I just play you guys a clip really quick?
Yes.
Holy CT just walked up. CT, all right? I see this guy
Okay, you guys know what that's from. That's Tony getting hyped as fuck when CT walks up during Invasion of the Champions.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think, okay, are you guys ready for me to lay it on you?
Please.
2 wins, 7 finals, 16 seasons. I guess that did include this current 2 seasons. And 5-4 in eliminations. But some of his elimination losses are due to bullshit technicalities. He is involved in arguably all of the most iconic moments in challenge history, both on the drama side and in the game. Him fighting Adam, one of the most memorable moments in challenge history. Him and DM
smash his head and eat it.
Yeah, him and DM, most memorable couple in challenge history. Banana's backpack, most memorable elimination in challenge history. He has 2 distinct eras to his game and has an incredible comeback where he wins Invasion. Amazing at puzzles, probably the biggest and strongest ever. Maybe arguably the funniest commentary, and I think his peak is probably Rivals 2 or Invasion. I think they're equal in how great he is.
I don't think Invasion's close to his peak.
Okay, that's interesting, but I will close it out with this. His one-on-one strip basketball game against Teresa.
that is a great moment.
Underrated moment in challenge history. Boom goes the dynamite.
I mean, I'm all in on Teresa, so I'm very happy with that basketball game being mentioned.
Yes.
CT, like, if you were just to put him in any like mission or elimination, I'd be all in on CT. He's like number 2, number 3. But when you put him in a final, I just don't think he's put as much on a tape for finals that I would want him that much on my team. And he also, like, again, like, he has a negative correlation between his peak in performance and his peak in terms of me wanting him on my team from a personality perspective.
And see, I actually agree with everything Logan said, but except for one thing. I would say there's not 2 CT eras. He's the only character on the show that has 4 distinct character arcs that come to mind immediately when you say his name. First character arc is Hothead CT at the beginning of the show. So Inferno's, where he's just a jerk and wins and beats everything until we get to the final where, you know, something happens where they have an anchor on their team that screws them. So
yeah, lost both Infernos.
And then you have the Diem era CT, which is a combination of lovable, scruffy, trying to the nice, squeaky clean girl, trying to reform the bad boy, and then ultimately fails in that endeavor. See Inferno 3 and Duel 2, where Inferno 3 he's coked up and hits Davis, and then you get
allegedly,
Duel 2. Allegedly, you're right. Allegedly. We don't know that for sure. That's the rumor, and I give CT a lot of leeway on some of this stuff. And then Duel 2, I mean, he tried to murder Adam, basically, and might have.
But there's a conspiracy about that season in that he only wanted to even be on that show for a week because he had something to do back home. So he was intentionally trying to get into a fight to get sent home early. Did he go overboard? Probably.
I think the thing that's really bad is that was around the time his brother was murdered, and he probably mentally was not in a good place, which is why I give him the mulligan on that one. Still a terrible look, but MTV still plays it, and on the CT Hall.
That's the thing that bothered me so much about MTV. This is a separate thing, but it's like, oh, we don't condone fighting. That's not kosher, and that clip is replayed as much as any clip from the show's history.
Yeah, and then you have comeback CT after Duel 2 with Rivals and X's, where he starts to be the reformed CT that DM was trying to make him, quote unquote, on the show at that point. And then you have, unfortunately, DM passing, and you have comeback CT, dad bod CT, which he wins Invasion. He makes it to the final on Dirty 30. You know, he's got some ups and downs in his performance, but he's still, you know, I would argue that, in my opinion, I think he's probably going to wind up winning another final this season. I really think that Team UK is going to take it, and he's going to get another.
Let me just say that the CT 4th chapter resurgence isn't quite done yet.
And I think he's still got a couple more seasons in him, because as long as MTV keeps paying him, I think he's going to show up. So, you know, it's hard to argue for me that CT is not the number one competitor. But in terms of like being the face of the show, that's kind of in Banana's court. You know, like CT is not the person that, if you're a fan of the show, he is. But for a mainstream audience, some of the stuff doesn't quite fly for him. So
I don't think he's ever been interested in that, though.
And that might be the thing. Maybe he's just not. He's just interested in showing up, going on TV and get paid, which I don't blame him for that either. So
how many other challengers have a wedding special? Let me just leave it at that, and that's why he's number one in my book.
And maybe James Chung got one I didn't hear about, but
so
I believe Tori and Jordan are getting one too.
Are they really gonna get one?
Oh, they
yeah. So a little bit of tea that I'm maybe not supposed to say, but the wedding special that was supposed to be Tony's, there's somebody in production that really doesn't like Tony, and that has been now transferred to Tori and Jordan.
Yeah, Tony even commented about that person in production not liking him, so I don't even think that's not super public, but Tony's made it known that production is not a huge fan of Mr. Reigns, unfortunately.
Yep. So there's my reasoning for CT. I'll drop my mic, and since CT is not Rob or Devin's number one, I can't even begin to rack my brain as to who would be their number one, so I'm ready for this.
I think Devin and I are on the same page with this one, right?
Take it home, Rob.
Probably.
Landon Lewick is number one.
And I don't even really think
crazy,
it's much for conversation.
Dude. That's a little crazy, if you're asking me.
Landon has never shown for me when I'm building a team, winning the missions, that's fun. Winning eliminations, that's fun. Winning the finals is what I'm here for. There's no person I'd rather have running a final with me than Landon.
I still stick with the small sample size, and it's hard to see how he would translate to other eras of the challenge, but the titles talk. That's for damn sure.
I know I'm usually with you about sample size when it comes to most things. Just with him, there's still been enough for me, and we've seen him put in a few different enough situations where if you give me duel 2 Landon, I have no doubts that put him basically with anybody, and they're contender and probably the favorite to win.
I mean, quite frankly, I would have loved to have seen Landon. If I had to pick one other season where I want to see what Landon's got, Free Agents would have been it.
Think about it. You guys all had Kenny in your top 3. You gave Kenny Laurel, who is not in Tracy's list, obviously, but as a pretty consensus top 3 female of all time. And you gave Landon Carly, who was one of the weaker girls, maybe even in the show's history. And he beats Kenny and Laurel, and I wouldn't say it's not close, but he beats them, and he beats them by without a doubt leaving in your mind.
No, you heard me say it earlier. She is the worst winner in the history of the show.
Some of those Gauntlet 3 rookie winners probably are who was that one chick, Rachel Moyle, whoever it was from Austin.
Rachel. I mean, the whole Gauntlet 3 rookies team. I mean, the fact that Nehemiah is a challenge champion, the fact
Nehemiah is not that bad.
He's not as bad.
Wait,
but
you're right. Oh my God, Rachel from Real World Austin won a challenge.
She won a challenge.
Crazy.
If
so
you
did
would have
Frank
asked me,
from Vegas.
Yeah, which that one actually
Frank
didn't shock me that bad. He was actually really good.
Frank was okay.
Jillian, that one was a little surprising. Johanna, that's really shocking.
Yeah, Johanna's secret real bad.
If you would have told me before I had watched the show, if I was just going off of performance, but I didn't know who won any final, and you told me that Rachel and Johanna would win a final and Danny wouldn't, I would have said you were crazy.
Wait, can I ask you guys a question really quick? Who the fuck is Alex Smith from Real World Denver?
Oh, he was on that season.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm looking at, and I have no clue who this guy is.
Yeah, he didn't last long.
No,
he's the first one out.
He's the first one gone.
First one gone. It's also people forget there was a guy named Zach on Gauntlet.
Zach from Real Key West. Yeah.
I only remember him because I definitely watched Key West.
There's a lot of jobbers on
season. That was a bizarre season because of the hurricanes and stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, since we're kind of winding down there, the other ones that I think there's another show about the forgotten challengers, because people forget that Real World, what's the guy from Real World Hollywood that quit the island? I can't.
Dan?
Dan or
Yeah.
something? Oh, which Dan? Sorry.
It's Dan.
It's Dan.
Blonde hair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's just, other than him, I can't remember a single person from Real World Hollywood that.
I don't know.
Well, what about the guy with the spiked hair that did a bunch of coke on the season that ended up passing away a couple years after?
Well,
Oh,
he was never on the challenge.
Yeah.
Right.
Real World Hollywood's a weird season. There's never anyone like Nick Brown is like the most frequent challenger from Real World Hollywood.
Okay, yeah, and he was
That
just
girl
on Dual Fuel.
Brianna, right? Nick Brown and Brianna,
I
both
can't. Gosh, wow.
both on the ruins.
Oh, it was Dave from Real World Hollywood.
Dave from Real World Hollywood. So, okay, there were more people from Real World Hollywood that made it to the challenge than I thought. I forgot about. That
Leaving the island, though, counts as a plus in my book.
God.
Wait, who's the guy I'm thinking of that died? Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, I know who you're talking about.
I know who you're talking about, but his name escapes me because I didn't watch that season. So, like, the faces from that season are very hazy to me.
Was that Greg or was that somebody else?
Let's see. I'm pulling it up now.
Google foo it.
Oh, Joey.
Joey. Yes.
Yeah, not Greg. Well, Greg was the one who called everybody else peasants.
Okay.
Well, honestly, I think the more interesting discussion at the top here is actually the honorable mentions.
Well, like Turbo doesn't qualify based on the criteria I laid out, but I think he makes the top 6 if I
I definitely have Turbo in my honorable mentions.
Yeah. Alton actually didn't show up on any of our lists, which I thought was crazy. But I had him and CT were at a deadlock for number 6 for me.
Hot take.
Yeah.
I believe Alton is highly, highly revered when he shouldn't be. I think he had an amazing performance on Gauntlet 2, but, I mean, he lost Inferno 3. He quit on Battle of the Seasons, but we remember that dominant Gauntlet 2 performance. But Gauntlet 1, I mean, it was okay, but he didn't win. So to me,
No.
I think
Alton is hot garbage.
I think he's overrated.
Oh, that's a bad take. He's pretty amazing on Gauntlet 2. And like we're only looking at peak season here again, so we're just only have to take care of Gauntlet 2 ultimately. We don't have to worry about the other ones.
Okay, you ready for some wild cards, some honorable mentions I've got here?
Go.
Let's hear them.
So of the ones we've already mentioned, Evan, Mark Long, Darrell, Derek K, Turbo. All right, here's the interesting ones. I put Zach Nichols, honorable mention.
Zach's pretty good, man.
I actually have him in my honorable mentions as well.
He's
I
been
like
pretty
that.
solid. Even in these really modern seasons like Vendettas and both War of the Worlds. I guess War of the Worlds 1, he was kind of a bitch and had a wedding to go to, and that's why he dipped out. And it became a whole storyline on the reunion. But this season, he has been great. Of course, we're not counting that. What about MJ? How do we feel about MJ?
MJ's fine.
I don't near my top 6.
He's not anywhere in the honorable mention category. MJ is very much what, if we were equating this to WWE, he's the guy that's in like the mid card fighting to get out of there, but they just don't have a good enough run to really put them in anything.
So, like, who would you compare him to
He's
now? Like
definitely
Shinsuke
well above
Nakamura?
average.
No, he's worse than Shinsuke. I would say he's a solid like cruiserweight champion. Like he's on the show.
He's like who's the guy from 205 Live that was champ for a long time?
Enzo Amore. No.
Oh, get the fuck out of here with Enzo.
No, Gulak I think was like the one that was entertaining, but it's been a minute since I've paid attention to 205 Live, but I had a kid, or my wife had a kid a few weeks ago, so like I'm really rusty on that right now.
Man, these ones are some references that are flying way under the nose for me.
Yeah. I would say if you go back to 80s WWF, he's Hercules Hernandez. Way down there in the bottom of the middle.
All right.
It's like a Brian Kendrick, if you will.
Yeah, very much so. Got a spot on the roster. Not anybody that's going to make or break your roster.
Okay, the guy I was thinking of was Cedric Alexander.
Okay. Yeah, he's good.
So, Johnny Bananas, as you can see now, is not in the people's top 6 or my top 6. And I wouldn't have, it's hard to figure out where I would have put him. I wouldn't have had him in my top 8. And at number 8, I actually probably would have had Frank. I think Frank is someone who doesn't get talked about nearly enough.
Dude, I interviewed Frank back when I first started the podcast, like a year and a half ago, maybe more than 2 years ago now. he is honestly the coolest guy that never had a long challenge career. I really, really wish him the best in his future endeavors because he went on to do real world stuff. He is maybe the greatest unrealized talent in challenge history.
I mean, he never lost elimination the 3 seasons he was on. He was like horribly sick on free agents and wins 2 eliminations.
Yeah, he had some sort of crazy virus that they had to send him home.
Yeah, like I think Frank is someone who, if he comes back now, I'm sure he'd still be able to compete at a super high level.
He did have a very.
Oh, okay, I got you. I remember Frank. Gotcha.
Frank Sweeney.
I got so confused there. I was thinking
not Frank Ross, or Frank Sweeney.
Yeah, I was thinking Frank from Vegas. I was like, that doesn't sound right. You're talking Frank from San Francisco. I gotcha.
San Diego too.
San Diego. Gotcha.
And he had, I mean, let's be honest, a fairly disappointing Mercenaries appearance on Vendettas, but that's kind of like that's
also like that elimination is just completely weight based. And
right, and especially in comparison to the Derek one, which everyone holds in such high esteem, that it's like that one gets missed by
80% of those mercenary eliminations they weren't trying.
Totally, yeah, exactly. That's what he
Derek
said in another interview.
Jordan and Laurel tried. That's about it.
Yeah,
he had no incentive to actually try and win. What's the point? He's already taken the trip out there.
Yeah, I thought
and they've paid him $10,000. So
yeah, exactly.
I thought maybe they give him like a cash incentive to win, but apparently that wasn't the case. So.
Nope, they get a flat $10,000 fee from what the rumor was. They get $10,000 to show up, and then they get the free trip out there.
All right, you ready for one final hot take on a wild card on an honorable mention?
Let's hear it.
Abram fucking Boise.
I don't think that's super hot.
Yeah, Abram was number 8 for the people. I think with Abram, I think his peak is actually a little bit like more congested than people remember. Like people remember as this great competitor for all these seasons. I think on Inferno 3, he's like a super top tier elite competitor, and that's kind of it.
His peak was Road Rules, which he got kicked off of.
True.
People forget that like he got kicked off for his repeated fighting on Road Rules. It wasn't just like one incident. It was multiple that finally was like, okay, we're done. The fact that he was even brought on the challenge after all the issues he had on Road Rules was what surprised me, because Abe was crazy on the challenge, but on Road Rules, he was borderline psychotic at times.
Abram
right.
Like
it's not
hardest...
even. Sorry, go ahead.
Just like he's like the hardest person for me to put like psychologically. Like I think most people on the challenge, you can sort of, there's like a scale in terms of completely genuine versus playing into a character, like the Hunter to West scale, let's call it. It's for me, Abram was like the hardest person to put somewhere on that scale.
I mean, he's admitted that he has like, to some extent, some sort of chemical imbalance. So it's like not just.
That's not
No, I'm not trying to like be a douche about it. He has like said he has some sort of disorder where he like
I completely buy it.
His mood swings are like greater than what the average swing is. You know, that you and I have from depressed feelings to happy feelings. He swings 10 times farther in both directions. So,
and I believe that fully, because I do, and this isn't an alleged, this is on an arrest report. Like he was in a jail cell and he basically pooped and smeared it all over the wall. So
right, yeah, I've read that too.
And didn't he give himself his own face tattoos?
Yes,
I've heard that as
some
well.
on his arms. So,
and I will say, I met him at Challenge Mania Live in San Francisco, and he was the sweetest, absolute nicest guy I've ever met. I took a couple drinks with him when we went to the bar afterwards and chatted with him for 15, 20 minutes. Couldn't have been more of a sweetheart. Absolutely loved chatting with him. And he actually honestly spilled the most tea of anyone at the show. And I'm kind of not supposed to say, I've got a little bit of an argument with Scott about, what we're supposed to say about what happens at the shows or not. But I will say he dropped a nugget or two about the real reason, or not the real reason, but part of why he left the island, in that, maybe certain plantain named related challengers actually gave him a monetary incentive to leave. And that's just all I'm going to say on that matter.
Man.
I would also not be terribly surprised by that revelation, just because of that's kind of like the dirty secret of the challenge. It wasn't super dirty secret because if you remember when we rewatched Battle of the Seasons 1, like they openly were making deals on camera and they were showing
they had Sean Duffy,
Right,
who's like a legit attorney, like writing out a contract.
Wait. Did you really just invoke the name of the worst Republican senator in America right now, in Sean fucking Duffy?
Oh, I forgot about this.
Yeah.
He's involved in.
Yeah,
no, we'll move on past.
Well,
that.
politics aside.
Let's just leave Fox News contributor Sean Duffy by the wayside here.
Yeah,
we'll
leave
that
those there. Let's keep the politics on the challenge. So
leave the politics to Kenny.
But yeah, no, and then like Battle of the Sexes too, like, you know, Theo straight up said on the reunion that all 4 of the last 4, you know, split the cash, and then Mark, you know, said in the recent Challenge Mania, like, yeah, no, I sent Brad a nice little gift after the season was over. So, you know, there is no doubt in my mind that so many of these people make deals and split money behind the scenes or leave early for whatever reasons. And you know what?
The editors leave it on the cutting room floor for sure.
Yeah, like I don't need to know that as a viewer. Like I really don't.
That's why the Zach thing on the reunion was so weird to me, that they were so public about him talking about him leaving.
That they made it a whole talking point at the reunion.
Yeah, they made it like a whole
They
thing.
made it a talking point because Zach told Bananas if they went in, he'd throw it for Bananas.
Yeah, but
That's why
like as a
Zach-
show,
and
why
that
would
didn't
you want
happen.
that out there? Like, why do you want your show's integrity to be jeopardized? Like saying that you have contestants that are willingly throwing eliminations to people.
And you call them every season.
Yeah, then you bring them right back.
Yeah, I agree with you. Where it's like, at least if that's a thing, let it be a conspiracy and let the T accounts on Twitter have that info.
Like,
and
how much of a spit in the face is that to the veterans who want to get back on the show? Like, I'm someone who realizes that with this position MTV is in, where like they need to expand their audience, and that's primarily what they're doing with these cast members. But when you have people who are begging to be back on the show, and then you have these other people who are just like, oh, I'll just take the appearance check and gleefully walk out at some point.
Zach had a friend's wedding to go to during War of the Worlds 1. Cool, bro. Say no to the call.
It's not like
I can't say that. I mean, if I'm in Zach's shoes, if they say, hey, you get your appearance fee of $50K, I'm going to show up and take the check.
Zach, I blame the producers.
Yeah, like, it's not like Zach is some dynamite cast member either.
Honestly, as much as I'm a Zach hater and think he's one of the biggest misogynistic pieces of shit in recent memory on the challenge, he has been pretty great on War of the Worlds too.
I think that might be a lot of selective editing.
But you could say the same thing about so many cast members. I mean, there are so many people to get favorable edits.
They're
that people
clearly
hate.
attempting to push a narrative here. Like the thing is with Zach, his entire character is based on, the U.S. team, like we're in such trouble, we keep on taking out our good players. Oh, Cara and Pauly are the worst, and that's the entire narrative they've been pushing for like the last 2/3 of the season.
Why do you think that they chose to do that?
Well, it's because that's the content they were given, and it's an easy storyline for them to make it. It's also the one they have liked in the past, like build up, like the team that's the quote unquote favorite. They always have like building them up as the favorite, and then having the underdog like come back from behind later. I again don't know spoilers, so maybe the U.S. team ends up winning this, but with the narrative they're shaping, that's what it's.
Well, so all three of you don't know any spoilers. I'm curious what your guys' prediction is for how this season will finish off, as we only have a couple of episodes left.
Before Jordan, sorry, Devin, I've talked psycho, Devin.
I was going to say, I really hope UK wins. At this point, hopefully, that's pretty much all that I want from the rest of the season is for Tori and Jordan to win and Cara Marie and Pauly to lose.
Okay, so can we just do a quick hypothetical? I am not confirming or denying absolutely anything, but I want to say, if UK wins, does that jump CT or Jordan up in any of your lists?
No, I don't think it has much bearing on their actual abilities as comparators.
Okay.
I would actually say that if we were taking this season into account on our list, Jordan probably would have made my top 6 because his performance this season is so stinking impressive from eliminations.
Yeah.
The fact that he was, even though he realized, you can say he's a bad politician, but he had enough of a strategy to go, you know what? I'm not going to get anywhere on this U.S. team because Paulie's just going to keep throwing me in because we hate each other. Got it. And the fact that Paulie
throwing on the UK team.
Yeah, but that was going to happen because of the Paulie alliance more than anything. So he was smart enough to know that he had a better chance to run a final with CT and those guys because, quite frankly, I think he hates.
Again, we don't know that.
We don't know that. I think that this performance this season.
If they don't luck out with the purge and get Kaylee ditched, I think that team is.
Ooh, I do not think that is a lucked out situation. I think that is there is always a purge late in the season.
And I agree with you.
She's already gone though, isn't she? We just watched the last episode.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like based on the political situations they were both in, I agree with you. That was something I had been talking about for a while. That there's always a purge, and she was probably gone. But just in that, like, they were still. I still think the U.S. team would be better if they had Jordan on it.
Definitely.
But I'm with you. I just think.
But it doesn't change your all-time rankings.
I think it would if you include this season. If you include this season, I think Jordan leaps into my top 6 because the other thing that I forgot to take into account, and I'm actually kicking myself for it, is Jordan took not a long layoff, but he took a several season layoff. Comes into Dirty 30 and just wins the whole thing. Like, granted, there was some fluky stuff with the way eliminations happened and those purges and the Redemption House.
Dirty 30 is a pretty, like... I actually really like the format of Dirty 30, which I know is not a popular opinion.
If you eliminate the Redemption House piece of it, I'm on board.
But the Redemption House is still conducive to who's the best competitor. It's not like it's set up in X's 2 where only a portion of the cast gets to use it, or in the Final Reckoning where you're just like pulling an X.
I'm just bitter that in a 1-hour show that I really enjoy, so much time was devoted to Corey and Anissa in a wagon riding through the streets.
Hey, don't you dare disparage the good name of Marie, who was the third wheel in that wagon.
That was like 45 seconds.
Challenge great, Marie wrote.
The part where she's dancing alone in the house with the basketball or whatever it was better.
I'm not going to say Marie is like a great competitor, but I love the fact that she's on the challenge.
She is such fucking good TV.
She is good TV. And she knows how to get in the middle of drama, but she also knows how to just make ridiculous observations in her confessionals, and I miss her desperately.
Yeah, I'm waiting to meet her at a Challenge Mania Live and just throw back some shots and see where the night takes us.
Staten Island's finest.
Security is beating down the doors here, so
yep,
we got 10 minutes for me to wrap.
Yep. So in summation, where do you guys feel like the list stand? Were there anything that stood out as a surprise on anyone's list?
I was a little surprised how high you guys had Landon, to be honest. I thought, having him 6 was going to be a hot take for having him that low, but I didn't realize people would have him at number 1. So I think that's a cool dichotomy that we had between our lists.
I'm shocked I'm shocked, but not really, that Bananas wasn't in the people's top 6 because people really hate him a lot online, and that anti-Banana people tend to get irrational with his record sometimes. And so I expected him to, I think, be top 5, like maybe 5 or 6. But the fact that he was not kind of shocked me.
I wonder if we had some ballot stuffing by the non-Bananas people.
I don't know about that. But
who responds is who
There's
responds.
just as many anti-Bananas people on Twitter as there are pro, though.
How many? I want to look at the responses that we got and see how many of the exact same identical responses we received.
That's a good question. It's not as bad as you think. One person just submitted one ballot and had CT as a 10, and then no other person ranked.
I will admit, though, that I did fill out the quiz twice, and I'm not sure if I filled it out the exact same. When you first asked me to do the interview, you sent me the poll, so I did it then. And then earlier today, when I was doing all my research, I just went ahead and redid the poll again.
Nice. That's fine. I'm sure we've had people who've done it 13 times. Some of these scores are pretty out there.
For me,
Somebody gave
honestly,
CT a 3 out of 10.
For me, that's the most surprising part is that Bananas wasn't in the top 6. Where was he again in the people?
He was number 7. But he was number 7 by a significant margin. He was not close to Derek.
I think Derek over Bananas in the people's top 10 is kind of insane.
I think I'd rather have Derek than Bananas.
I think it's a toss-up. I mean, I don't think either one of them is going to lose you a final, and I think both of them can help you win a final. Where you get hazy is the political piece of the equation. And so you just have to decide.
I just rather have Derek on my team than Johnny. I think Johnny's like a wild card, and you could speed some stuff up for me.
See, I agree with that if you have someone who is willing to take the lead in the political side of the game, because Derek will never do that. At least Johnny, sometimes his politics have screwed him, sometimes his politics have gotten him far. At least he's willing to play that leadership role, during his peak 5 or 6 seasons.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think that's it for me, guys. I got to go strap the house down.
Yeah, I don't need to be forced to be removed from the library. So
I won't speak for everyone. You guys can say your own piece. But Logan, thanks. This has been so much fun to have you on the show. You gave us some great stuff here, and hopefully we can chat again at some point down the road.
Definitely. This was super awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. I look forward to receiving an illegal link from some other seasons, so I can come back and watch some old seasons and chat about them with you guys. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Hedrich Files Podcast. I'm live tweeting every War of the Worlds 2 episode, and I guess I'll just say it here right now. I'm having Jasmine on the night of the final episode of the final, so we can chat with her. She's pretty active on Twitter, so I'm excited to chat with her. And I guess that's all she wrote. I had a blast doing research and watching old seasons, and honestly, though, more fun than ranking my top 6 was ranking the top 6 theme songs. So thank you so much for inspiring me for this. Thank you for hitting me up. This was an awesome time. And I look forward to chatting with you guys again.
Logan, can I make an injunction real quick here? Can you please ask Jasmine about her after show appearance with her and Naya and Johnny Mosley?
Yes. Send me the link so I can rewatch it and ask her about it.
Yeah, in addition to the Rivals 2 reunion, that might be the number 2 in terms of Johnny Mosley moments on the challenge.
It's a short list, that's for sure.
No, that list is long. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my god, that is just.
That's a show into itself. That would need to be a top 60.
The two of them are screaming at each other, and Johnny Mosley's just standing there like, ladies, let's settle down here.
He can control a room, that's for sure.
That's awesome.
That man can hold a room. Yeah, you have to give him that.
Yeah. All right, Devin, take us home.
All right, with that, everyone, thanks for listening. Trace, do you plan to release this one before or after the first episode?
Before Fresh Meat. Yeah. I've got Fresh Meat edited, but this one's going up first.
All right, so we'll release this episode. Soon after you hear this episode, you'll be able to hear the episode that we do on the first 4 episodes of Fresh Meat. And we're recording this around Thanksgiving. Trace, do we plan to give this to the people for a Thanksgiving treat?
We do. I'm off work tomorrow, so this will get edited and put up tomorrow.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And with that, talk to you soon. Bye.